Wow, what an intro. As the intro song said, welcome back. It is week 1 minus a few games of the 2025 fantasy season. This is the Fantasy and Frames pregame show. I'm Nate Marcum. Joining me is Erika, my best spelling, Erika with the K, and Jorge. The only way I know how to spell Jorge is with the J. So
good answer.
Erika with the K, Jorge with the J. I'm Nate Marcum. Joining us also will be a few other friends, family, and guests. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing all right. And I'm sorry for saying this, and I know this is low-hanging fruit, Erika, but my college team won, although it was Maryland and they played on a Friday night, so I can't really gloat too much. But I'm doing all right. Excited year 8 here at Fantasy and Frames, kicking off here, getting you all ready for all the fantasy advice you need. And of course, if you're over on YouTube, drop your questions there, and on X or / Twitter, you can also drop questions in there. So excited to be here. Erika, welcome to the morning show, the pregame show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here this year.
Nice.
I was feeling sick a little bit yesterday, and it probably is due to, Oklahoma State just crap in the bed. That was one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
Well, until Alabama apparently lit up some school for like 73 points yesterday. I think that's what I saw this morning. Was that accurate? Or
yes, but we are a Power 5 school, so it should not have happened like that. 69-3.
Yeah, I'll say this as my own take. I hate week 2 of college football for the most part, because when you look at I think there was one game. Aaron Pags, look at that.
I know,
morning, buddy. One game with 2 ranked teams. Everything else was Ohio State versus Grambling, and I get it. Everybody needs to get one of those games in a little bit, but my excitement level was a little bit down. But guess what's not down? My excitement level for week 1 of the NFL and fantasy season. Which, guess what? That's a lie, because my excitement is completely down because the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Chargers, of course, and Xavier Worthy gets hurt, and Travis Kelce got the Swift smacked out of him. It was an interesting start to the NFL season. But for all joining us for this new NFL season, we have an exciting show. We have hopefully an informative show. I know it's going to be a fun show. And let me a little breakdown like this. We're going to start off. We're going to get a little news and notes. We're going to go straight into the fantasy flex, which is these are fantasy flex worthy players that we feel you may have the majority of your questions about. We want to kind of talk about some of them. We're going to look at some players outside of the top 24 in the Fantasy Pros ECR. We'd probably dig a little bit deeper for people that are in 3 wide receiver sets, exclusively the flex players that I know a lot of the questions are going to be circled around. So pay attention. Obviously, hopefully we'll help make your decision before you have to make your decision. Then we'll skip right over into the fantasy focus, which is, we're going to look at scenarios, metrics, matchups of focus. What we want to do is we want to lead you to water, teach you how to fish, and then let you do the fishing yourself a little bit. And we'd like to try to get ahead. Everybody wants to say, how can I get that early lead of who's going to be the next guy up before your opponents? And this is what we may do to help you not only this week, but going forward. And then we will answer your start-sit questions. So without further ado, why don't we jump right into some news and notes. Now, Jorge, before we start news and notes, I do want to kick off. I see one question that has, from Aiden Weingartner, who
is it really a question? Is it really a question? Or is it some bullshit that
we want to start off
100%?
We want to take the Illini approach, the Maryland Terrapins approach. Should I start Jamar Chase or Pop Douglas? Erika, why don't you go ahead and handle that? And any analysis?
I'm going wide receiver 1, Pop Douglas here.
There you go.
100%.
Yep, exactly. We got a question here from Ryan, a little bit more challenging than this one, but thank you, Aiden. We appreciate you tuning in and appreciate you dropping the questions. Drop them in all morning if you want. He says, top of the morning to you. In a standard league, okay, which wide receiver should I start and why? Cooper Kupp, Emeka Egbuka, or John Thornton? I think it's Egbuka, regardless of the fact that it's standard. And standard, we don't care about the receptions. We care about the yardage. We care about the big plays and the touchdowns. I think the target volume is going to go his way in an immense way. And so that yardage is just going to slowly accumulate over the course of the game. And we look at, what's going to happen versus, with Cooper Kupp here in Seattle. We don't know which Cooper Kupp we're getting. We're not getting Los Angeles Rams Cooper Kupp, right? So I'm going to roll with Emeka Egbuka here.
Erika, you feel the same?
I'd be the same. I am excited to see what Thornton's going to do in this offense. New quarterback, new system. I'm excited to see what the Raiders can do, though.
I am too. And I think he scored a touchdown in his final preseason game. And I guess always a nice positive going into the regular season. But Egbuka, I mean, the way I have my ranking set up is that he's a top 18 option for me, really top 15. And anytime a top 15 versus any other competition, no matter the scoring format, standard, PPR, half PPR, I think I'm pretty much going to always start. So I do, suspect Emeka Egbuka will be one of the hot names that will be brought up today. But there's a couple other hot names, hot topics, hot situations going on. Of course, Christian McCaffrey. Here we go again. Maybe it's just, practice. We need a practice drop right there where ultimately we like to think it doesn't matter, but I think it does. Erika, what is your, what's your gut telling you with CMC today and going forward?
I was talking to Charlene off of the show, and she asked about CMC and are we scared? And I was like, well, I'm not scared because I didn't draft him anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I did not want that injury risk. I did not want to see it anywhere near my lineup. He was going a little bit later, back of the first, early second round for most leagues. Sometimes even higher in the first because people wanted that volume.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't trust his injury. We went through this last year where he said, hey, I'm good to go. Wasn't even out for week 1, started the game, and then was done.
Yep.
So I'm out.
Yeah. Jorge, are you, let's say you have a buying opportunity. Someone's willing to sell because they don't want to go through it. Are you entertaining all offers, no offers, some offers?
As we speak right now, I'm not moving. I understand the concern and rightfully so, but we haven't even played the game yet. You know what I mean? Like let me see that. Okay, he is inactive. Let me see an actual empirical stat that shows it is not good to hold on to him so far. Like I rather wait after week 1. If anything, though, if I'm a concerned CMC manager, and let's say he does go off today, but then like towards the end of the game, he gets spelled more by Brian Robinson or Garendo, then it's one of those things where it's like, ooh, maybe I capitalized off of a hot week and try and get something for him heading into week 2. But for right now, I'm, you drafted him in the first round, like just roll with him this week.
Yeah. I do have some shares. It is what it is. And luckily, I will say, I'm not going to say didn't fall prey because, again, we haven't played a game yet. Come 16 weeks from now, 17, 18 weeks, you could look back and go, he should have been the number 1 pick because the volume could be there and he, avoided injury. But I think that there, of course, is a little concern, as Erika pointed out. And hey, after coming off a day where you're not feeling well, the last thing you want to do is go in with, the old bubble guts from CMC roster question. Ta-da, crisis averted.
There you go. We got a question from Puka University. Good morning. Thoughts on my lineup this week? Bo Nix, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving, Puka, Ladd already played, Sam Laporta, Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. Wish I had that lineup in some of my leagues.
Let's say, is this like a 10-team league here?
I love it. I guess if there was anybody I would be slightly concerned about is Sutton. Just because of that defensive secondary, the way they like to deploy their cornerbacks kind of like helps put like a a cap on Sutton's strong side. If anything, I'd be kind of interested in seeing what Marvin Mims could do against this secondary, but for Tennessee. But aside of everything else, like, where can you go wrong?
Yeah, if Sutton's your third / flex option right there. Even with, me being a L'Jarius Sneed fan, at least for the last few years, I feel like maybe he dropped off a little bit because I'm being a negative, towards him because he's not wearing Chiefs colors anymore. But still, ultimately, Poke Varsity, that is, I think you're going in. And honestly, you're starting off with, I think, decent numbers out of McConkey in a really tough matchup. So that's a way to go into week 1.
Got another question from Ryan. Thanks. Also, Standard League, which running back should I start as a flex between Travion Henderson, Tyrone Tracy, Nick Chubb, or Bill Krosky Merritt, and why would you start them?
Erika,
I'm going Tracy. I mean, he's the undisputed starter. We don't know what Chubb looks like after this injury. Henderson is actually buried on the depth chart. Krosky, who knows what they're doing over there with Bill. So yeah, I definitely go Tracy on that one.
Jorge, I agree with Erika, and I'm going with Tracy for basically the exact same reasons she just said. I'm excited about Travion in some capacity, but I think that not in a standard. In a PPR, there's a chance, I think there's a path for him to being more valuable than Tracy, just of the explosiveness, but not in a standard. Yourself?
Yeah. So, I mean, if we were talking about, 4 years ago, Nick Chubb, then even in a standard, I'm taking him all day. In any league, I'm taking Nick Chubb all day. But to your point, being the fact that it is a standard league, that reception upside that kind of is swaying a lot of us into thinking Travion Henderson is going to be one of the top rookie running backs in this class. That's negated, right? We don't know what we're getting out of Krosky Merritt. He's buried on the depth chart also. We don't know whether Woody Marks is going to, usurp a lot of the work in the receiving game and take Nick Chubb off the field. So by default, I think you're right. Tyrone Tracy is the way to go.
There you go. Second topic of some news and notes we saw happen is Quinshon Judkins does get his agreement signed with the Browns. He is now officially really on an NFL team, which is great. Not likely for week 1, but they say a week 2 is a possibility. There's a big if to that scenario, which is a league suspension. Now, I haven't heard anything else, even like subjectively saying, oh, is it going to be 2 games? Is it going to be 4 games? Is it going to be, reduced suspension? Like, there's not a lot of talk about the suspension. And I don't know if that's going to be just a gut punch that's going to happen. And all of a sudden, all the people that, if you have them, though, big deal. You didn't invest that much to get them. Erika, you talked off show about a trade opportunity. If you have, as you do, Quinshon Judkins, what's your expectation for return? And when he does return, what's your expectation for playing time?
I think it's going to definitely be a slow start. He missed all of camp. He's missing the first game. But there's not a lot of competition there in Cleveland. You have Jerome Ford, who's been hurt also this offseason. And then Dylan Sampson, they, spent like a 4th round on another running back. So he really has the path to be the starter. I think it's just going to be a while until maybe week 4, week 5, until he ramps up.
Yeah, Jorge, as Erika said, given the lack of scenarios there, we'll talk a little bit about the Cleveland Browns backfield. But before we get to there, do you think it's going to be Jerome Ford or Dylan Sampson this week? I know we're jumping the gun, but I'm excited to I want to talk everything. I want to talk every team all at one time and just run around in circles and not even get to any points.
Right. So one of the things I really liked out of Dylan Sampson coming out of college and what he brings to Cleveland is that receiving X factor. And given the fact that this should be, I think this is going to be a deceptively higher scoring game than most people are thinking with Cleveland and Cincinnati. And so just because of that negative game script, they're going to have to throw the ball. And I think, and Erika, you brought it up with Jerome Ford dealing with injuries throughout training camp. This could be a Dylan Sampson PPR show here. This could be what a lot of fantasy managers are hoping Travion Henderson turns into if he was not buried on the depth chart. So I think Dylan Sampson could be in for a good week this week for the Browns from a receiving upside.
Mm-hmm. I didn't see you click on this one thing, but I want to highlight one little comment from Charlene. And good morning, Charlene. I don't think I actually said hello to you, which is very rude of me, but I will highlight something I think that you did say, which is very important, because we all forget that we might be talking to people who could be in their first year of fantasy football, could be in their 32nd year of fantasy football. But there's little nuanced things that you can pay attention to that really give you like an inside edge. And Charlene points on one of those, is that he didn't, Shanny being, Shanahan, the coach didn't bring up any running backs off the practice squad. And that's a nice telltale sign for people trying to get an inside edge, or at least have a little educated foresight, is that if they don't make a move to fill up a specific spot, and yes, we know that they brought in Brian Robinson to fill in for CMC if needed, and Garendo, but not having another one does say a little bit more in the optimism side of things. But those little notes for people, I think, are kind of helpful, because Charlene's obviously a veteran in this, but it's those little, I think, educated moves that really help put you ahead. So there you go, Charlene. You were now officially part of our show, and any questions that we get wrong will be 25% on you.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
Going to San Francisco, which, wait, isn't Charlene's from?
I think that is
the Bay Area.
That is
it's not her team, but yeah, she's
okay.
from the Bay Area.
That's a good segue, though. We'll take.
Oh
that.
That was top notch segue. Isms from me. From the Bay Area to San Francisco, Jawan Jennings has been cleared for action in week 1. Is his involvement going to be more or less valuable than Charlene's point about bringing up no running backs from the practice squad? Erika.
I don't know. I feel like this was also a ploy just to get money. Like how hurt is he? Like, is he actually good to play? I don't think anyone really knows, but I don't have him in any leagues, so I'm kind of out of the loop on what he can do.
Jorge, any opinion?
So I fortunately or unfortunately have him in a dynasty league, so I am starting him this week. You look at what he did last season, which was very impressive. Out of all the wide receivers, he led all wide receivers in first read target percentage and first read targets. He was the go-to wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. But that being the case, Ricky Pearsall all offseason and training camp has been developing that rapport with Brock Purdy. And we've seen that, on the field. And all of a sudden now Jennings is like, oh, it's a week before the season starts. We worked out a contract. Oh, I'm feeling good. We're good. I'm back at practice. He alluding to what Erika was talking about. What my expectations are for him. I see him leading the team this week again in first read targets, but I am not going to say that he has the highest upside out of all the wide receivers. If anything, I think Kittle has the highest upside of the receiving options, followed by Pearsall, and then Jennings as far as like ceiling. But as far as a stable floor, I think Jennings' floor is a little bit higher.
Yeah, I get the feeling Jennings is going to be one of those every couple weeks that he'll be talked about immensely, because like you touched on last year with the first read targets and what he did on a per touch basis and a per route run basis was pretty exceptional. The question is, though, is exactly like Erika said, if I knew that it wasn't calf related and it was just, ego related, that's one thing. You can play on a healthy ego or an injured ego. You can't play on an injured calf. And we learned that. Speaking of people cleared to play, Marvin Mims, Jorge, you touched on him a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
This is the question this isn't clout dropping or anything, but during the Kings Classic, that's one thing that Marcus Grant, who was drafting before me, and I were both talking about a lot, is that if Marvin Mims were to be a, priority in that offense, just how good he could be. And we both talked, about the idea that, wow, he deserves, what does he have to do to earn more targets? And that's the interesting part. So then, of course, I drafted him right before at the turn so that I could shore up all of our conversation and look like a total jerk about it. But I am hoping he plays well in week 1. You touched on the matchups. The matchup against Tennessee is one that I think is exploitable from a flex standpoint. Jorge, or you think you're going to be recommending Marvin Mims in your flex questions that you may receive on him?
Oh yeah, I really do believe that his I think this is one of those situations where Denver is going to want to establish the run with 2 running backs that we'll definitely be talking about later in J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. But I something tells me that Marvin Mims just is poised to have a breakout game this week. Like you were saying, towards the end of last season, we saw the connection with him and Bo Nix really develop. Yes, I understand the point that Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton, especially after I want to say it was like week 10 or so, Cortland Sutton was like a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy points per game. But again, the defensive scheme that the Titans use, I feel like limits Cortland Sutton's skill set and actually helps Marvin Mims exploit the skill set there for the Tennessee Titans secondary.
I love it.
Marvin Mims, he's not a bad receiver. He's just had bad quarterback play for the last, ever since he was drafted in 2023. I think he's going to be a good play all season.
I feel the same. I like Pat Bryant just from watching him play, of course, at Illinois. But I don't think that he's more likely in my eyes, as far as he doesn't remind me of Cortland Sutton in terms of build or a lot of those factors, but I feel like they would cannibalize each other more so in targets than what a Marvin Mims can do for that offense. And so I'm right there with you. I'm hopeful. Obviously, you draft him and you want a player, and you probably build up his value just a little bit more, just so that you hope and you talk yourself into being right. But I mean, Erika, if you say it, I believe it. So that's kind of my mentality. It's always been. That's kind of my mantra. If Erika says it, I believe it. And that started probably when I was a young kid, because my sister Erika with a K would say stuff, and she's pretty.
Yeah,
smart,
we're always right. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. There's no doubt.
I will say, you mentioned a wide receiver that I'm really excited about, and it is Pat Bryant. You look at all the receiving yardage, the touchdowns he had at Illinois, a school where they basically run the ball 99% of the time, yet he was able to have that wide receiver production going to a team here with Denver. I'm really excited for his outlook, especially in Dynasty.
He's got really, really good hands and good body control. So, I mean, it's some things that, you can develop even chemistry with the quarterback, but having those two things is really a great starting point. And a great starting point for your fantasy team could be a quarterback that is safe. And Josh wants to know, is Trevor Lawrence one of them? I say yes. I love Trevor Lawrence this year. Week 1, especially against a porous Carolina defense. Jorge, Erika. Jorge, I guess we'll start with you. Is he a QB1 we'll say top 10 for you this week?
Let me pull up the rankings here so I just stay consistent. I have him as my quarterback 12 heading into this week. So yeah, I definitely think he finishes as back end quarterback 1. I'm not scared of the Carolina defense. This defense is a sieve for basically every aspect of a defense versus an offense. So Trevor Lawrence, you look at the weapons, we have, Brian Thomas. They drafted Travis Hunter, who reports came out that he's going to be playing an every down role as a wide receiver and situationally at cornerback. We have Bretton Strange, somebody who's a tight end who I think is also kind of somebody who's going to be sneaking up on people's radar going forward. So yeah, definitely excited for T-Law. And then let's not underestimate the impact that going from Doug Peterson to Cohen is going to have on the creativity of this offense as well.
Mm-hmm. Erika, does the fact that you believe, is there a play if you're starting Trevor Lawrence? Number 1, I guess, is he a safe play?
I think so, yeah.
Number 2, do you, going into this, do you think Carolina's offense, with another year under with Bryce Young, with Tetairoa McMillan, etc., do you think their offense is enough of a threat that this could not only be just a run game for Jacksonville, but is it because you think that maybe there's a chance that it has to become a shootout, which we never thought we would say about a Carolina Panthers Jacksonville Jaguars game in week 1, I'm sure.
I will say, if it is a shootout, that's going to be a fun game. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of offensive weapons on both sides of the ball that we have been wanting to see. Ted McMillan and Travis Hunter especially. And I'm excited to see this run game for Carolina as well. And even Jacksonville, how, that backfield in Jacksonville ends up shaping up and who gets the actual lead start. It could actually be a good game, better than a lot of people are expecting.
I really do think that. I'm excited for that potential because it is exactly like you said, so many names of players that we kind of want to see, and we want to see them succeed, not, hey, look, there's McMillan, 7 targets, 3 catches, 42 yards. That, yay, that's tight end numbers right there. So, but quickly rounding out the news and notes section, Jaden Reed is questionable. As the show progresses and we find out more information, we will keep you posted. That's obviously a huge one for multiple different factors. Another one of his teammates, Dontavian Wicks, is questionable as well. A lot of Packers concerns at the moment. Darnell Mooney for the Falcons is a game time decision. I haven't heard more on that. I mean, obviously, without Mooney, Mike, the Drake London 18 target, 15 reception, week 18 game is always a possibility again, which would be great for the Drake London.
It could be a Kyle Pitts game.
Ooh, dun dun dun. There should be a drop for that. Yeah,
it should be.
Yeah,
that was my favorite part of All Expo Weekend was drafting Kyle Pitts. It was glorious. It was standing ovation.
He who should not be named. It should be Kyle Pitts' new nickname.
I shouldn't have had to say his name. Just a nod, like a collective nod around all 14 people goes on the board.
Got a question here from Mr. Magic. Welcome, Mr. Magic. Debo, Diggs, or Swift in the flex PPR? So I'm excited for Debo Samuel. I think Cliff Kingsbury has been waiting to have a dynamic player. Not to mention Terry McLaurin just signed his contract a week ago. So chances are of him being, heavily emphasized in this passing game, I don't think is going to be expected. Whereas Debo Samuel, we saw his first touch in the preseason, when he got it in the backfield and took it up 10, 12 yards upfield. I'm waiting for the explosiveness to just take over here in Washington, even against a stout defensive line. Him and getting past those guys, the linebacking core for the New York Giants is not one that I'm concerned about. Bobby Okereke, who was a free agent a couple seasons ago, there was talk during training camp that he may actually be bumped from the starting lineup. So, if Micah McFadden is the linebacker that I'm worried about getting to Debo Samuel, then I think Debo Samuel managers should be feeling pretty good about that.
Erika.
Yeah, I'd also go Debo in this situation. I'm excited to see what he does in Washington this year. And I love Swift. I think he's going to have opportunity, but I don't know about this this Monday night game. Plus, I don't like playing players on a Monday night. I'm like, let me play all my players Sunday, get it all done and over with. I don't want to wait another day to see if I'm going to win my league, my game that week. But I think we'll have to wait a week for Swift and kind of see what Ben Johnson decides to do. But I go Debo in this situation.
Yeah, I was leaning between those two, between Swift and Debo, and I was leaning Swift, and I hate that matchup against Minnesota because I could very easily see that it could be not a wake up call to the Bears offense by any means, but a slower start than expected, and they may have to unleash some of the weapons in the passing games so much more than just DeAndre Swift on the ground. So let's make it unanimous so it's fun, and we can all three be right or wrong together for Mr. Magic. Debo Samuel, Debo. I'm just gonna say Debo.
Words.
Yeah, I know. Samuels is not the name I thought I was gonna get. Have to struggle over. So. Just last year in week 1, Isaiah Likely had a hell of a start against the Chiefs. He was a toenail away from being a hero in that game. If you guys remember that, I see what you did there. Yeah, we were coming back from Vegas that day, or I was at least. Jorge,
that's right. You're drafting. Yep, I remember that.
And one of those players that I drafted, which helped, was Jameson Williams, who agreed to a 3-year extension with the Detroit Lions. I love that for him. Love that for Goff. Love that for the offense. Don't know if I love that for Tesla. I'm not 100. Like, I think that I love him as a player, and I don't think we need to necessarily get too deep into the rabbit hole on Tesla and all. But do you think that does have some impact on his dynasty value? Like, were people banking on the fact that hopefully Jameson might not get re-signed and would eventually move on, and he would become their de facto 2, or is that just they have enough volume to go around to support three receivers in that system? Erika?
That's what I think. I think they have enough. I mean, they invested in Tesla, they traded up to get him.
Yeah.
So they wanted him as their guy, and he's going to be a factor in this offense. We just don't know how yet.
Jorge,
well,
right?
One of the reports coming out of Lions camp throughout the entire offseason has been the emphasis to push the ball down the field more big plays. And so, extending Jameson Williams kind of goes hand in hand with that. But to your point, I mean, Tesla can do the exact same thing. So it's one of those things where I think that especially for those who play still in standard leagues, praise God, I love you people. That definitely is going to be a situation where you may want to monitor him on your waiver wire going forward. But yeah, I think there's plenty of passing volume to go around.
We have a question from Colby Conway. I assume this would be, I'm disappointed personally.
Yeah, no Texans.
The Dallas Texans. Is that from the AFL? Is that?
No, I said there's no Texans in this question. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not familiar with this Texans word that you're using. Is that?
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, great job, Jorge. Way to build up on that. So let's just move on to the answer. Great. Answer. I think Eric and I maybe we won't agree. I don't know. I like the idea of Dante Thornton.
Yeah. I do too, but I also like Rachaad White because I know that he's going to get the start. I don't know. I'm excited for White. I think he's going to have more opportunity than people think.
Jorge?
I am torn. One of the things I will say is that without Tristan Wirfs as, one of the tackles for Tampa Bay, will Atlanta put enough pressure on Baker Mayfield where he just has to get the ball out quickly, whether it's to like Ekbuka on a short slant or if it is to Rachaad White? It's one of those things. Can both Bucky Irving and Rachaad White coexist in the backfield as receiving options? The fact that it's Atlanta and they haven't had a good pass rush in quite a long time is making me slightly lean towards Thornton, but I can understand the logic and rationale for going with White.
Yeah, I think White's I think he's probably the safer play. And in 14-team leagues like Kings Classic, when you're that far down, you just want almost a guaranteed 6 points out of that spot. Obviously, you're always shooting for upside, which I think probably Thornton's maybe the higher splash play guy. But I think that we'll make these collective and say Rachaad White's the smarter start. And we're here using our brains. That's what we're using. We're using brains, not gut calls.
Exactly. Got another question on here. We got here for Cat for Life. What's up? Flex spot: Juwan Jennings, Evan Ingram, or Josh Downs? For me, I love Josh Downs. I think when Daniel Jones was named the quarterback, I'm like, oh my God, a guy who, while it's oddly enough that Daniel Jones is completion percentage on big downfield throws of 20 yards or more is actually not horrible. He's checked down Charlie. Look at Wan'Dale Robinson when he was playing with him with the New York Jets. I think this is just as right in Josh Downs' wheelhouse. I think they go like peanut butter and jelly. So for me, I'm not even thinking about it. It's Josh Downs.
See, for me, it's Ingram. I don't know. The Broncos went out and got him. I think he's going to be used a lot in this offense. I do love Josh Downs, though. I just don't know his usage alongside Michael Pittman, exactly what that looks like. But I think the Broncos throw a lot to the tight end, and I think Ingram's going to have a monster year. I think he's going to be a top 5 tight end for sure.
Definitely one of the more polarizing players as far as there's no middle ground for Evan Ingram anymore. It is people are completely out, and they thought that this whole, Sean Payton Joker role comments has completely overvalued him, or he's completely useless, which I think is ridiculous because in a full point PPR, Evan Ingram still has to be considered a top. I mean, I don't see anybody that could take him out of your top 6, 7. I get it. Maybe he might not be the tight end 1 or 2 that people were hoping in that new offense and new change could bring. But I don't know what this is. You think this is a full point or half point for Catfly? Not that it probably changes my opinion, but if it was full point, I think I'd go Ingram. Half point, I think I would go Downs.
All right. Charlene, wait, does that mean I shouldn't start Okereke, this week? It depends. Are we taking on each other in the Shoot the Gap Listener League? Because I'm going to abstain from answering this question. If we are, I did not look at your lineup. So I'm going to abstain here and let
don't let me answer. I'm not. Me and Charlene are best of friends. I'm not ruining that on first week takes. Wait till week 11 when I've already pissed off enough people that at this point it's just guessing.
I will say, Charlene, amongst all the linebackers for the New York Giants, he is technically the best graded one. And that's not saying much. He does have a missed tackle efficiency last year of 10.7%. It depends on where he falls on your pecking order, right? If he's like your LB 3 or 4, then I would. I don't want to say I feel comfortable, but I would put him in that spot. If he's trying to be my LB 1 or 2, I would pivot. I would pivot hard. That would be my recommendation for you. And watch me bite me in the ass later on today when we're taking on each other. Colby says already starting Nico, Noel, Higgins, and Hutchinson. So I need a final flex spot. Okay, so yes, Texans in his lineup, and this is definitely thrown out towards you, Nate. He says I'm also out in LA for the game. Nate, I'll tell your buddy Stan Kroenke you said hello.
I spit on you, Stan Kroenke. That's what we feel about Stan Kroenke here in St. Louis.
I understand.
He's the worst human on earth. Sometimes. A couple other final news and notes. Dre Greenlaw out for the Denver Broncos. That seems to be a trend for Dre Greenlaw over the last couple of years now. Unfortunately, get better, buddy. Mm-hmm. And TJ Edwards is doubtful for the Bears. Who steps up in Edwards' spot if he doesn't play?
It's going to be kind of crazy, but I really believe Tremaine Edmonds is not going to be the one who's going to be beneficiating. I think it's Jaquan Brisker, the strong safety, the box safety, who's going to come up more and help be more of a run supporting de facto linebacker box safety. But don't rule out Ruben Hypolite, the second rookie here. Mm-hmm. A lot of good talk out of him coming out of the draft and in training camps and OTAs. I don't know if he necessarily steps on the scene and becomes, quote unquote, the guy there as the LB2. I am not a fan of Tremaine Edmonds. I've never been a fan of Tremaine Edmonds. I think his name value is overinflated. You look at his production, whether he was at Buffalo or now in Chicago as a linebacker. It's been like not horrible, but it's not been great. And so like if you're looking for average, you're rolling with Tremaine Edmonds. I would rather take the investment in Jaquan Brisker and look at him as being the guy who steps up here in this situation if TJ Edwards does not go.
There you go. And that wraps up the news and notes section. As we pivot into what I think will help answer a lot of people's questions, as we've kind of alluded to a little bit, is we're going to get into our fantasy flex options where we take a look at some players outside the top 24, top 36. People, let's be honest, the ones that are going to be in the majority of your questions, not named Aiden Weingartner, who have to decide between Jamar Chase and
Pop Douglas.
Pop Douglas. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So without further ado, it's time for fantasy flex.
Is it just me, or is that song Jack? Everybody, like pumped me up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's just me that you don't like that song. Or?
No. It definitely gets you pumped. It's hard to not start wanting to bounce a little bit, but either way, I don't have anything clever to say off result of that. Jorge, thanks.
No, you're welcome. And folks, if you see myself or Erika or Nate jump off screen for a little bit, it's because we're getting our coffee refills for the morning, because God knows we need coffee, because coffee is a necessity here at Fantasy and Frames. So, yeah. But I digress. All right, you want to get into our first conversation here?
Yeah, I think that probably one of the most talked. We've already had him once, and I think we'll see it a lot more, maybe in some of the shallower leagues where you have some more difficult matchups to decide between it at the flex. But that's going to be Emeka Egbuka, Tampa Bay. He's the ECR wide receiver 29. I know many of the rankings, myself included, have him quite a bit higher than that. Against an Atlanta Falcons defense where their coverage unit ranked 9th best in the NFL per PFF last year. The big thing is that it's not just their overall coverage, it's specifically the individual, and that's going to be matched up against Atlanta's 4th round pick, Billy Bowman Jr. He jumped over from safety, Jorge. I think the matchup itself, even if it wasn't without Chris Godwin, and even if it wasn't without Jalen McMillan, the matchup would be wonderful. But now that you have him isolated basically as the de facto only other option outside of Mike Evans,
right?
What's the ceiling for Egbuka this week?
So let me touch on a little bit here about Billy Bowman from Oklahoma. We looked at his senior season. He allowed a quarterback rating when targeted of just 79.6%, which that is pretty damn impressive for a safety to have that role. That is something you wish for more of your cornerbacks to have. And like it was alluded to, he made the transition from safety to cornerback. He's now the slot cornerback here, and we all know that Emeka Egbuka made a name for himself at Ohio State as being like one of the best slot wide receivers out there. So it's kind of interesting. They have D. Alford, who's still on the team as the backup slot cornerback. So it's one of those things where who played horribly last year. I just wanted to point that out. So it's one of those things where, like, if they're mixing it up between those two cornerbacks throughout the game, kind of giving, Bowman a breather just because this is, a new situation for him. I mean, Egbuka is going to crush it. I mean, I think Egbuka is going to crush it regardless. You look at his yards per out run, you look at his yards after catch per reception, you look at all the advanced metrics you have here for Emeka Egbuka. Even if he is the number 2 in this offense, if he's lining up in the slot, if you see him line up in the slot, folks, just like get ready to watch some awesomeness, regardless who's the cornerback here. Although I will say, I really am impressed with what Bowman did at Oklahoma, especially his senior season. Whether that translates, whether there's a learning curve for him switching to cornerback for the Falcons, I mean, there probably will be. And I think that's where you're going to see Egbuka exploit him the most this week.
There we go. Erika, any who's maybe a flex that you may want to suggest that people, if they're contemplating someone, who do you think is going to find their way into many people's lineups?
Just in general, anyone?
Yeah, you can use anyone you want. Don't know if you had something that you were, or I guess here, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a either or scenario. How's this one?
Okay.
Let's say that you're looking at in a shallower league, maybe, how about someone like Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman? You think Cedric Tillman can find his way into your flex lineup this week against the Cincinnati defense that I think we know is, I don't want to call them terrible. That's not nice, but I think that's definitely a flaw. Quote unquote terrible. But Cedric Tillman, would you feel comfortable recommending him in someone's flex?
I was like, I'm actually playing him in a deep league. Nice. It's a dynasty league, and all of my receivers are hurt, so I am actually starting Tillman. I like him, especially this week against Cincinnati, and the fact that it's Joe Flacco starting, I think that really helps. I think Njoku is going to see a lot of work, though. And then, of course, Jeudy had a great season last year. I think he's poised to be, one of the top receivers as well again this year.
Yeah, I think there's 3 potential. I think that, Jeudy has an opportunity to have a good week. Cedric Tillman has an opportunity to have a good week, if not a great week by just overall expectations. And then I think Njoku's going to be one of probably the biggest recipients. He destroyed Cincinnati last year, but then again, so did Cedric Tillman. Jorge, right?
I mean, you look back to, Tillman only played them once last year because he had that, an ACL that took him out for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
but he posted, 81 yards and 14.1 fantasy points. We saw kind of the breakout starting for Cedric Tillman last year until he had that injury. You mentioned Jerry Jeudy. Coincidentally enough, in 2 games last year, he averaged in half PPR points per game, 2.65 fantasy points versus the Cincinnati Bengals, which I found to be like that is ridiculous. He'll be probably lining up against Cam Taylor-Britt here, who last year allowed a quarterback rating when targeted of 118.5. But he also allowed, well, that's good, from a quarterback standpoint. He also allowed, I'm talking about DJ Turner, DJ Turner allowed the lowest reception percentage here among cornerbacks. That's who will be, Jerry Jeudy will be seeing. So I'm a little bit concerned about Jerry Jeudy this week. You mentioned David Njoku being the one of the primary beneficiaries. Is he though? Do they capture lightning in a bottle? Twice here. I'm going in with the belief, having drafted Njoku where I drafted him as high as I did as a tight end, that's going to happen. But call me nuts. I'm a little bit more excited for Tillman as a deep flex than I am as Jeudy as my wide receiver too.
Yeah, I think that's, again, like we said, a lot of the times if Jeudy and Tillman put up the similar points, it's the opportunity cost of what you're giving up to start Tillman. I think if given in a vacuum, if you're starting Jeudy or Tillman, I think the vast majority are going to start Jerry Jeudy from a safety standpoint. But when you're talking about that second flex spot or in deeper leagues, Erika's Dynasty league with injuries galore, was that same league where you lost a couple players and then you also had Xavier Worthy?
Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Chris Godwin. So it's everyone's hurt or suspended.
Yeah, just get someone that's going to actually get snaps and maybe have a couple looks is going to be valuable in that. So, Yep, that I think the Cleveland-Cincinnati game is going to be. It is the opposite, if you will, kind of that Carolina-Jacksonville game that most likely Cleveland-Cincinnati is going to be a high-scoring affair between both teams that is going to leave some of us wanting, like we knew Cincinnati's going to do what they're going to do, but no one gets excited about Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku anymore. But you give me all the McMillan and Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr.'s, et cetera. But I think it's going to be one of the higher scoring games. So you definitely can get some pieces of that on either side of the ball. One of the games, Jorge, I don't know, is this Indianapolis and Miami game as far as what the offense could look like. Josh Downs is one that's probably going to be a very common flex question just because you get rid of Anthony Richardson, you add Daniel Jones, and that should breed success. Is Josh Downs one of those guys that you think might find his way into many flex questions?
Yes. I'm also probably the most excited for him out of all the wide receivers here for Indianapolis. When you look back to his 2024 metrics, his yards after the catch per reception was 5.6. The next closest wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts was Alec Pierce with a 3.2. So that is that is telling you a lot about just how efficient Josh Downs is with the ball in his hands. Yards per out run, number 1 on the team also. And again, I was talking about it earlier, Daniel Jones and the Daniel Jones Wandale Robinson connection they had in New York, I think is going to turn into the Daniel Jones Josh Downs connection here in Indianapolis.
I agree with you. I do. All right, Erika, we have a debate for you and Aiden because he has I'm thinking it's a serious comment, unless he's just trying to irritate you because of the conversation we had about Judkins earlier. And that's him saying he only has Judkins in one league this year. Is he just droppable at this point? I just feel like he's not going to do a single thing of note this year or be relevant at all, unfortunately.
I think he's definitely going to be relevant. I mean, they invested highly, and sure, he's only remained unsigned because of this whole, domestic violence issue. But I do think he's going to have value on this team. And you probably drafted him pretty high. And that just seems like a wasted value draft pick if you just drop him before he even starts. At least, give it a little time, especially if you have a deeper bench.
Yeah. No reason there's no way, Aiden, you're going to really drop him. You have plenty of other garbage spots at the end you can drop. and it's good. I was gonna say that's not a segue, Dave. Me saying speaking of garbage, I promise that was not by design.
All right, I'm out.
For Erika, do you know Dave?
I don't.
I don't think we met. No.
This is Erika. Erika, Dave. For other people that might not know Dave yet, Dave Ibrahim. Dave is a longtime friend, family member, guest / host of the Sunday morning, was it kickoff show, pregame show, Jorge? What do we call this show anymore?
We're going with pregame show this year, but yes, we've called them both in the past. Yes.
We've got to decide on what time zone we're talking about, guys. There's a lot of confusion. All right. I'm in San Diego. Everyone's talking in Central and Eastern, and it's too much. Well, he's like, "Where are you at?" I'm like, "Dude, we got like 45 minutes till the show starts." Evidently, no.
It's like, no, we started 45 minutes ago. My bad. So yeah, exactly.
All good.
You skipped all the fluff. Now we're into the meat and potatoes of it, where we really need Dave's expertise. And Dave, I can start with you. We're right now we're in the little segment where we're doing the fantasy flexes, where we're trying to identify some players that probably will be in a lot of the flex questions that we're going to get on the show. And so maybe we'll kind of, bring some of them up for people to, say, hey, do your own research. Here's what we think. Save us some time. How does Rashid Shaheed sound like in one of your flex spots this year?
Sounds like you're dumpster diving on week one. I don't know I don't know if you need to be going Rashid, right now. I mean, it's too early in my opinion, to risk it with that. You've got so many sure things right now. I mean, who's your options? Like we're talking about Rashid Shaheed. Give me a example of who you're toying about playing instead of him.
Well, that's the thing, is this is not a me scenario. This is more of a some of the names that we know are going to, we assume could be potential names in the deepest of leagues. So it sounds like Shaheed's not a name that, if given, all right, Rashid Shaheed or Romeo Dobbs.
I'll take Dobbs. I mean, especially with a quarterback play, you got to keep in mind who's throwing the ball. There's certain players who are quarterback proof. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins back in from 2013 to 18 was quarterback proof, right? I don't know if Rashid Shaheed is exactly that way, right? So I'll take Dobbs. Obviously I love Jordan Love. He loves throwing the ball. Dobbs is going to get at least 6 looks, right? So I'd rather take those 6 targets than Shaheed, who, hey, he might go for an 80-yard bomb. Fantastic, but I don't want to rely on that.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I think that, again, guys, we've talked about this a little bit also. There's many different leagues that we're going to be addressing this towards. And some people are in the deepest of dumpster diving leagues of the Dynasty where they have injuries galore. Others are in 8-team leagues where none of these names are going to be even on people's rosters. So I take that with a grain of salt. But when we have to dig deep, and some of these are more fun to talk about digging deep, Jorge, in Miami, you have to consider there's a potential for 3 receivers to be valuable. We know Tyreek Hill is a question mark at all times in terms of if it's going to be 9 for 160 and 2 scores, or it's going to be, 2 targets, and which is crazy to think Tyreek has a floor that low anymore. But we've seen some chaos. Jalen Waddle, same way to an extent, but the third there.
Yeah, I am super excited for Malik Washington this season. You look at him coming out of Virginia last year. I want to say previously he played 4 seasons at Northwestern, went to Virginia last year. And we're talking about, a non-powerhouse school in Virginia where basically he was their best option. He was their slot wide receiver. He was their only option. Opposing teams knew that he was their only option, yet he tore up other teams regardless of the fact that they were zeroing in on him. He goes to Miami. He's a slot wide receiver there. You look at the preseason so far, a lot of positive hype coming around him, especially with the uncertainty of Tyreek Hill being on the roster throughout the rest of the year and going forward in subsequent years. In the preseason amongst all wide receivers, he was the 2nd highest graded wide receiver and 7th in yards per route run. He is and the thing is, you look at him on the field and you're like, he's like kind of like a stocky, person, not somebody that you would like take for being like a short, more slenderish, slot wide receiver. Yet this guy is fast. This guy can, break tackles. He can get yards after contact as a slot wide receiver. And I just really believe that the Mike McDaniels is just really going to start to exploit a lot of these offensive weapons that he has around him, because the Dolphins can't go conservative this year. I believe his coaching position is on the line this year, and I think they need to go back to what brought them to the table previous seasons, and that is just pushing the ball downfield. And I think Malik Washington, as you're going to see as the season progresses, is going to be one of the primary beneficiaries there.
Yeah, let's stay with Miami. Eric, I don't want to hear your opinion on this because I get the feeling I know what your answer is going to be. Devon Achane is the only other running back outside of
Achane or Achane?
Achane.
Chan.
He decided. He
Yeah.
decided it's Achane, and I respect.
Is he
his,
certain? Should we ask him again? I don't know.
I mean, I would love to have him on the show.
Achane just sounds so much cooler. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's easier to say.
I think
too,
you
'cause I
should
had to-
legally change it to chain, but
Yeah,
I'll
I
have a
don't like
conversation.
having to think about it going.
Yeah.
Achane
Yeah.
sound like confident, but
It makes sense
Bijan-
too. Yeah, it's like a chain moving the chains, like it just goes hand in hand. But like it's he just had to go ruin that.
I just found out Denzel Washington is actually not called Denzel; it's Denzel.
Really?
Yeah, fun fact. Yeah, Denzel.
So like the LE versus the EL.
It's just
I don't
get
like
rid of that E. Get rid of that second E. It's gone.
How about that?
I'm not a fan of that one either.
Yeah.
So
Let's
Sorry,
take a question.
Way
here from-
diverting. But yeah, my bad.
No, you're good. Let's take a question here from Jonathan. Welcome to the show here. This is going to drive me crazy all year. Would you flex JMO or Travis Hunter in PPR? Erika, let's start with you. We know JMO, he's that deep ball threat. We talked about earlier them wanting to push the ball more downfield. But they gave him this huge contract extension. They want to obviously get him more involved in this offense. But for a PPR, does that matter to you? Or on the flip side, Travis Hunter, we heard, the reports coming out that he is going to be cited in as an every down wide receiver and situationally playing at cornerback on defense. If you had to pick one here for PPR, who would you get in your flex?
I'd go JMO just because I know they said that they're going to do Travis Hunter on both sides for 100% of snaps. I mean, that's just not viable for any type of production. Sure, he played out in college, but this is going to be a whole new situation for him. And I'm personally kind of nervous about Hunter, excited to see him, but nervous about his usage overall. I've been very high on Jameson Williams all season. So, yeah, I definitely go JMO.
What about you, Dave?
Man, give me a shot of that Irish whiskey. I'll take Jameson. I don't know what we have in Travis Hunter. We don't know. Is he a DB? Is he a wide receiver? Who knows? Way too early to risk it, man. Like week one, I'm not taking risks. I am the most conservative, play your guy person. All right. If it's week 13, you need to get into playoffs and you're throwing Hail Marys, fair enough. But week one, man, like just play your guys. Like Travis Hunter, what'd you get him in? Like round 7? Something like that, 6, who knows? But yeah, there's a lot of guys that you can play in your flex, and I'll take JMO. We know what Jameson can do. Jameson's had many 100-yard, 1-2 touchdown games. Give me JMO.
Talking about early and shots at Jameson, I guess that only applies if you're having an Irish coffee this morning. But it is 6 a.m. for you right now?
It is, yeah. It's 7:30. Yeah. So.
You know what? I'm not judging. Have fun. It's football is back, and we gotta love it. We got Mr. Scampers in the chat.
It's just regular
saying,
coffee, but I might take a break in a minute. Who knows?
Mr. Scamper says he hates it when I call him the Dens, but he secretly loves it, referring to Denzel Washington. Cool, very cool, very cool. I wish Nate was on the screen right now because I was going to talk about wide receiver 93.5 PPR ECR, Nick Westbrook-Akini. For those who don't get the reference or the joke from last year, this guy's metrics were just god awful. He was literally like a home ball, deep ball threat. 2 targets a game. One of them came down for like a 60+ yard touchdown, and it happened for like consecutive weeks. And so on the pregame show here, I would always like poke fun at Nick, like, yeah, let's advise people to play Nick Westbrook-Akini here now on the Miami Dolphins, but he's not here, so that joke is gone to hell. Well, let's talk about a running back here that I'm kind of interested in, and I want to get everybody's opinion here. Zach Charbonnet, ECR running back 38, going against the San Francisco 49ers this week. Kenneth Walker has been dealing with an injury this preseason. We've seen Charbonnet roll out with the ones. Clint Kubiak is now the offensive coordinator in Seattle. Kubiak, his father, him, they all like to operate with the same mentality of just run the ball. Erika, going back to you here, if you have Kenneth Walker, let's say you're one of those people who are like, I'm going to draft Kenneth Walker, but I'm going to make sure I'm going to get Charbonnet, and I have both of these guys on my roster. Obviously, you're going to be starting Kenneth Walker in your RB1 or RB2 spot. How comfortable, let me put it like this, how comfortable would you be rolling in Charbonnet as a flex option for you today?
I mean, in deeper leagues, yeah, I might do it. I think they're going to see a lot of equal work, especially, this early in the season. We have a whole new offense here. New quarterback, new coach, just new everything. We really don't know how the running backs are going to be used. Early on, Kenneth Walker has been dealing with injury. So they could definitely use Charbonnet a lot more early in the season.
Dave, let me piggyback off of that to a different question here. How afraid are you of San Francisco's defense that you would be swayed to not maybe start Charbonnet in a flex and only just roll with Kenneth Walker?
I'm not as worried. I mean, last year they weren't the 49ers we knew from the year prior, and that's always the case, right? It's not exactly the Legion of Boom from 2013, right? But look, Charbonnet, he's my 2 a.m. booty call. If Kenneth Walker can't go, I'm giving it a call, right? He's a great option at 2 a.m. But you've got a pony in Walker. Like he's there, he's the guy. He's getting 15 plus carries. I don't want to go into a game where I'm relying on someone making magic out of 6 carries. It's just not efficient, especially for a running back. It's not like a wide receiver getting 2 or 3 targets where one of them can just go off. A running back to break off an 80-yard touchdown is way more rare than wide receiver taking a cash to the house. So I'm just not playing Charbonnet week 1.
We got some news here. It's not exactly fantasy football breaking news, but it's news in the chat to us. Boom shakalaka! You'll be hearing that quite a lot this morning. We got Charlene Erickson. It's her birthday. Happy birthday, Charlene. Happy that you're celebrating with us here on the Sunday pregame show. We got Mr. Scampers in the chat asking a question. Non-PPR. I love all you non-PPR people out there. I love you so much. Thank you for still playing. He has a question here. JSN, Jerome Ford, or David Montgomery here. For me, it's Montgomery. You don't draft David Montgomery for the reception upside. That's why you drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. Montgomery is that in between the tackles guy, goal line situation guy, but he also gets plenty of volume. So I'm going David Montgomery in a non-PPR. Nate, welcome back. Who would you choose here?
I would. I'll start off by saying happy birthday, Charlene. That is awesome. 22, I'm guessing. And
22.
You know what? I'm still going to go JSN. I know that it's PPR, but it's also, it's also yardage. And I just think his volume in that offense it's going to be hyper-focused to him. I think he's going to encapsulate 26%, 25, 26 or higher percent target share. That just gives me such a solid baseline, such a solid floor in any scoring format. I'm going to go with it.
How about you, Erika? What are your thoughts here?
Just not Ford. I think either guy, JSN or Montgomery, are good plays for this one. I would probably lean Montgomery just because he is going to get that goal line work.
All right, Dave, who you got?
That
you
was
take Jerome Ford.
Okay. You just don't want to eat your Brussels sprouts. It's not an answer. All right. I want more definitive next time. Give me JSN, man. I'm a wide receiver person. Like I love, exactly as Nate said, he's going to get the target share. We know what he can do. He's great out the slot. He's great running like routes, just going to the post. So yeah, JSN, wouldn't be surprised if he's number 1 wide receiver for the week. I mean, he's got the opportunity. Look at what Darnold did with Jefferson. Addison had a big year last year. I mean, JSN will feast.
Got Jacob.
Happy birthday, by the way, to
Charlene.
Charlie, sorry, yeah.
We got Jacob in the chat. I'm listening to all the fantasy football advice that Erika tells me today. That is smart of you.
It is. Yeah.
That's very smart of you, and that's a good reason to come every Sunday to the Fantasy and Frames pregame show. I'm sorry, Nate. Let me toss the reins back over to you here.
No, yeah. Oh, you tossed the reins back to me.
Yeah.
Just as JJ says, some of my favorite people. And
and Nate.
it's all right. He at least knew my name. So, boom.
Sweet.
On that one. Some
Big
of you
dub.
people. Yeah, exactly. I'll take all the little highlights I can get. And the fact that JJ's with us in the morning versus the millions upon millions of other fantasy kickoff shows. See how I did that there, Jorge? Pregame
Nice.
show. Kickoff. Thanks. He chose to come in to this one. So good. Hopefully we can help give you some wonderful advice that helps you to win your week. Guys, are we ready to jump into the fantasy focus?
We can be. Let's do it.
And where is his glasses? He can't see without his glasses.
When
Dave.
and like crying.
Oh my God. That the second I was trying to piece together, like what would go well with glasses and fantasy and importance. And of course, it's the funeral scene for my girl. So, yeah.
Well, we're hoping we're not
That
going to
was
kill
sad.
your fantasy teams this week. And so one way we're going to help do that is to not only give you some advice on this week, but we're going to try to take a look at some areas that we want to focus on a game-to-game matchup and give you maybe the foresight to exactly. Yes. We're hoping that you're going to ignore some of the bad takes as you're wiping tears away thinking of that scene, and then you'll lose. You won't hear us talking about Caleb McGarry, etc.
I don't know if the younger generation really knows about that film, right? I mean, us old fogies.
Yeah,
It's a different story, right?
yeah. This is definitely a. I don't know what gen that is for us. Gen X or
X.
What is the official Gen X Z? So I was 84. What am I?
X.
X.
I'm X. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's 79
X.
to. I think it starts at 79. So
all right, I made it. Made the cut. 79.
there we go.
As my gray beard shines through.
Googling.
I'm a millennial, so
Yeah. We got people coming in. Oh my God. Poor Macaulay Culkin. Yeah. All those bees. Hold on. We got a question here from J.K. Kelly.
X is 65 to 80.
Ah, okay. Well,
So
then
you're a
I'm,
millennial then.
I'm a millennial.
Technically, I'm a millennial. Yeah.
Nice.
That's
we're
weird.
all millennials
No, I don't
then.
like that. No, I've lived my whole life thinking I'm X. X
Get
for
outta here.
extreme.
No, you're not. You're millennial.
What?
Go to
Oh,
Starbucks.
man.
Get your coffee. I'll drink my Folgers with my Marlboro Reds and talk about standard leagues and non-PPR. We don't like that around here.
Hey, easy with the non-PPR slander.
Back in my day, we drafted with stones and chisels.
Exactly.
Got a question here from J.K. Kelly too. Half PPR, Kenneth Walker or Marvin Harrison Jr.? Dave, let's start with you this time.
I don't know what to do with Marvin Harrison. Is it a fool me once situation? I don't know. I mean, he's got the potential. We all know it, but I'm probably playing it safe. And it's like I said, it's week one. Just stay with K-Dub.
Erika?
Yeah, I'm the same. And I mean, Marv wasn't bad as a rookie, but he didn't get the volume that he should have had. It all went to Trey McBride. I definitely go Walker.
Jorge?
Yeah, I'm going Kenneth Walker as well, even though there's the whole injury thing. Erika, you brought it. You mentioned it right there. The targets go to McBride still or Marvin Harrison Jr. What have the Cardinals done to change anything to this offense this past offseason? Nothing. So, and that's kind of concerning. So, give me Kenneth Walker.
Yep. Look at that. First clean sweep of the day. What a nice avocado toast generation.
Wow.
We're all millennials here.
I love it.
Not Nate. That's probably
He's
why
good.
JJ doesn't like. That's why JJ doesn't
See,
like me. He's an ageist.
Okay. I do not like guacamole, but I love avocado. I hate the texture of guacamole, man. I'm not a baby. I don't need to eat baby food. You don't need to mix it up for me. All right. Just give me sliced avocado, bro. All right.
I
Do
don't
you like it smashed? Do you like smashed avocado?
No.
or anything?
If
Okay.
I order avocado toast, I'll make sure I go, is this pre-made guacamole? Like, not interested. Don't want it. If it's sliced, I'll have it. You have it sliced on toast, bit of lime, some salt, pepper, chili flakes. Fantastic. But I don't want baby food on my toast, man. Like, it's like vomit on my toast, and I'm paying $20. I'm in California.
He
wants $40. Yeah.
You don't want vomit on your toast, but you'll put some Marmite or Vegemite on it.
Vegemite's fantastic. Don't knock it till you
Yeah.
try it. No, you guys put it on like it's peanut butter, all right? You don't put it on like peanut butter. It's got to be translucent, a nice thin layer. It's fantastic.
How about just being
great B
non-existent?
vitamins in it? What's that?
How about just being non-existent? That's very close to translucent, where you can't see it.
I'm sending you all a bottle of
Plain
Vegemite.
toast.
All right.
No, you're not.
Plain
You've been saying
toast.
that.
We're
saying
gonna eat
that
it
for
one
8 years.
time. We're gonna eat at one of the shows live. I'm sending you all a little bottle. All right.
I've actually never had it before.
I haven't.
Oh, you
I
just-
We'll say what the address is in the thing.
Yeah. Well, group chat. We'll do that.
All right, so let's have some group chats. Let's talk about some of these games this week. And
Ooh,
let's
nice
start
job.
with Tampa Bay and Atlanta.
Yeah.
And one of the things that myself that I want to pay attention to, and it's a question that's been brought up quite a bit, is the loss of right tackle Caleb McGarry. What effect does that have on the offense? There's many a times we've looked at some of the other offenses in the league. We've talked about Tampa Bay and Tristan Wirfs. There's been other scenarios where it's, what is this impact going to do? And the question that, does it change anything for Bijan? Not for fantasy sake for us. I mean, maybe the end all, like when we're doing our rankings. Yeah, maybe he's 1, maybe he's 2, maybe he's 3 as a result. But with that to the offense, that's also an impact on Michael Penix Jr. So I want to know, does anyone outside of Drake London have a chance of even cracking the top 12, top 36 in their respective position? Erika, Kyle Pitts, we talked about earlier, maybe. Darnell Mooney, who's kind of a, GTD or questionable status. Are you focusing on anybody else within this Atlanta offense not named Bijan or Drake London?
I mean, sometimes you got to play Pitts. I mean, at the tight end positions, sometimes you have to, especially in those deeper leagues. I'm actually in a dynasty league where we start 2 tight ends. And so I'm rolling out with like trash. Not saying that Kyle Pitts is trash. He had a pretty good end of year with Michael Penix. So he could be a flex option. I wouldn't have him as your tight end 1 though.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. And Dave, is there anything in this game outside of that really, and we're trying to forecast for the future. Like, there's not a player necessarily on either side of the team or either side of the ball that I believe is going to be someone that we want to have some foresight on. But is Darnell Mooney, as we talked about, a little maybe underrated this year after having such a successful season last year?
I mean, are we stretching right now? We're talking about Darnell Mooney. Really, you're only playing him, if there's anything happens to London. Is he a good option if London goes down? Yes, but you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you've really just got Bijan, and London. That's it. Like, who else do you really want there? I mean, Kyle Pitts is kind of like the crazy ex-girlfriend who you keep stalking on Facebook. You're wondering what she's up to, and keeping an eye like, should I go back? Should I not? I don't know, but. Yeah, but really, there's 2 options there. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Penix. I mean, if you look at his stats last year, he didn't do great. How many interceptions did he throw in his 4 starts? It's like 5, right? I might be wrong here, but yeah, I don't think he's his future over there. But yeah, there's 2 guys there. I'm not touching anyone else other than that.
So if
how
I'm
many interceptions he did? I'm gonna Google it.
You do that. Jorge, what were you saying?
I was going to say, if I was somebody who is, doing a DFS play, and I'm far from a DFS expert, the losing your blindside protector in McGrary, I know this is going to sound gross, but like slot wide receiver Ray McLeod could see an uptick in target volume this week. So I could kind of see, it's gross. I'm prefacing it with good. But somebody in that situation, I am not saying start him as your wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just saying if you're looking for a cheap option to fill in a wide receiver spot in your DFS lineup, given the fact that, again, the blindside protector of Michael Penix is going to be out this week and he's probably going to get the ball out quickly, who better to throw to than a slot wide receiver to get you some extra yardage.
To that point, real quick, Jorge, and I'm trying to remember the name. Who's the left tackle that played for Dallas for years? Something Smith.
Tyron Smith.
Tyron Smith. Now, back in the day, this is going back, but Ezekiel Elliott was a stud, back from 2015 to 19, give or take. The weeks that Smith was gone had a material impact on Ezekiel Elliott. So to that extent, I mean, people don't underestimate your left tackle and how important they are. It makes a big difference how many yards your running back's getting.
So let me throw out a question here now. If Bijan Robinson is incorporated more into this receiving game, how comfortable are you? And potentially, and again, if you have one flex spot, two flex spots, people who are in deeper leagues taking on Tyler Algier this week, just because if Bijan's being split out to be more of a receiving option, does that mean Algier is in a position to potentially usurp some of the rushing attempts here, or is that too bold of even for like a deep, roster here, Erika?
I mean, deep, maybe. I'd rather have the RB2 on some of these other teams, especially with ones that are, ambiguous backfields. Even with CMC being hurt, I would take Brian Robinson start him before starting Algier.
Yeah.
I don't think he's worth it, especially week 1.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you 100%. I mean, we talked earlier about the Tampa Bay situation of Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. And I'm not trying to compare Rachaad White to Tyler Algier in terms of usage or value, but I don't dislike Rachaad White, especially as we were saying with the loss of Tristan Wirfs. You could see, and I am far from an expert on pass pro between Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, and situationally speaking, what that means. But I think it could lend to maybe a more of a Rachaad White role. And going forward, it's interesting to pay attention to is that if they are seeing a ton of pressure on Baker, does that force them to try to do more design screens, which I know it was a concept they liked last year. And now with that change, is that still the same thing going forward? Rachaad White could be a much more valuable piece, even if it's in split role and a little more volatile, but it's something worth noting.
And not to mention, let's not just completely throw out the window the importance of losing your second offensive coordinator when talking about Baker Mayfield now. Liam Cohen going to Jacksonville. What's going to be are we continuing the same model that we were continuing from the former offensive coordinator who's the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, whose name is escaping me right now?
Dave Canales.
Canales, thank you. Canales is gone. Okay, Cohen takes over. Okay, he basically runs the same thing that Canales was doing. Okay, is this new offensive coordinator going to do the same thing that Cohen and Canales was doing? Something to pay attention to there.
So I'm going to answer that, and I think so. Yeah, I kind of did a little bit of research on Josh Grizzard. I think that's how you say it. Could be Grizzard, but I think Grizzard. He was their passing game coordinator, and he was kind of Liam Cohen's right-hand man, as many were saying. And so I think that I don't think that he's going to come in and shake it up completely from what they had. I think he's going to take what he learned under Cohen and really kind of keep that system similar. But anybody wants, they want to put their own spin on things and make a name for himself. He didn't want to just seem, but when they come from those trees, I feel like more and more when it's been successful, they stick to the same. So I'm optimistic that it's not a complete tear down rebuild. It's going to be a very similar offense.
So you want to hear a fun fact that I would not have put together here for the one of the players here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Mike Evans has not topped 100 yards versus the Atlanta Falcons in at least 2 seasons. He's averaging 82 yards in those games played, but never cracked 100 yards. So like people who are playing in leagues that reward bonuses for 100-yard games and stuff, Mike Evans may not be the guy you may be wanting to count on to break that bonus threshold. Now, that being the case, he has averaged 18.95 technically fantasy points per game. We'll round that up to 19. So at the end of the day,
both his games last year, he scored 2 touchdowns.
Right. So it's one of those things where it's like, do you care about the yardage or do you just care about whatever the hell gets you the fantasy points?
Second.
Yeah,
Points.
exactly.
Don't care. All right, JJ. He has a PPR flex spot question. He got killed with AJ Brown's performance. Does he go with DeAndre Swift or Jacoby Myers? Obviously, he's looking for the highest upside play to offset the AJ Brown performance. I guess we'll go around the frames, and Jorge, start with you and see if we can get a consensus or at least a majority.
As much as I love what New England is starting to do on the defensive side of the ball, and they're playing with a lot of youth here, especially in the secondary, man, that is such a great question. I still think I'm going to roll with Jacoby Myers just because I don't think he's going to be lined up against Christian Gonzalez, who's one of the shutdown corners for the New England Patriots. So give me Jacoby Myers here in this situation.
Erika?
So we talked about Swift earlier and how, we're not sure what that defensive line is going to be like for the Vikings. I'd go Myers on this one.
Mr. Ibrahim?
Taking Myers. I know that Bowers is going to be covered all day long. I'm not a big believer in Ashton Genty, but I think they might stack the box a little bit. I think Myers is going to get some looks, man. It's all about opportunity. He's going to get 6 to 8 targets, and we've seen what he can do. Myers is he's not bad. Like, you'd be happy to take him home to mum, right? He's okay. He'll get you 80 yards, maybe a tutty. So I'm okay with Myers.
Not to mention, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not taking him home to mom. If you're a little angry and the first thing you want to do is say, I want out of this altogether. I mean, the first time that you forget to take the trash out is he going to divorce me from the team and just say, I want out of here? I mean, come on, let's have some cohesion when it comes to the squeaky wheel getting the grease type scenario, which that's what we'll see is he's the squeaky wheel. And the grease will be in the way of a fantasy victory for JJ Winner. Jorge, what were you saying?
No, that's exactly where I was going to jump to is the squeaky wheel thing. Like, was he just saying all that stuff? And now you're going to be like in week 1, all right, Jacoby, shut the hell up. Let's get you the ball a few times here. But
I was a little bit worried about Jacoby when Amari came back into town. But now that Amari's at the Cherry Oaks retirement village, I think he's the one, And not everything's going to go to Brock Bowers, guys. I mean, I love Bowers. I was huge on him last year, but I think he's getting a little bit overhyped.
Did you see that post on Twitter where it was like this person is like, I've waited 10 plus years to finally open up this Amari Cooper Raiders jersey again, and then that very day it's like, and I have to put it back away. Fantastic.
Thank you, Carrie. Everyone, good
hey,
morning.
Carrie.
Carrie's brought me my third coffee of the morning, so I'll be going strong till about 2 a.m. tonight or tomorrow. Get me in line. That's when I will be making the moves that Dave was talking about, the crazy X, when I put Kyle Pitts into my lineup for next week. And then I realized what I did, and I have to tell you guys, don't let me do that. Take my phone away if I'm getting drunk. I don't need to call Kyle and tell I miss him. I want him on my team again. So the next game we've touched on a little bit, Jorge, Dave, is the Cincinnati-Cleveland game. I think we all have expectations that the Cincinnati defense is potentially so bad that Cleveland's going to be in a scenario where they're going to have to just air the ball out to try to keep pace. Yes, Cincinnati defense so bad, Cleveland's going to be able to score on them. Therefore, Cincinnati's going to keep airing the ball out like they normally would do, therefore forcing Cleveland to continue. And we're hoping for a high over-under game. But there are certain little things. We can't expect this to be the Cleveland rationale, or can we? Because last year they were the third highest passing volume team in the NFL, surprisingly. I think we have this in our mindset that Cleveland is a, run it down your throat type team, but
it's because they have Jameis Winston.
Well, I don't disagree, but I think they have Joe Flacco right now, who's likely to be in the same scenario.
Is Joe Flacco the last of the Brady, Manning era pocket passes?
I think so.
Oh yeah, he was.
Who else is there? I think he's it. He's riding solo, right?
Jimmy,
Oh,
no, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo count. I don't even know if that.
No, I think that was like 5 years after.
Yeah.
Wow, you know it's so I pulled up the stat just now. I am shocked. Not that you're right, but that the fact is that both of these teams in passing attempts last year are 1-2, with the Browns at 661 passing attempts and the Bengals at 652. That is blowing my mind, man. Jameis Winston, man.
That boy likes to air the ball out. He does.
But look what Flacco. Oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers. Thanks, Ken. That's
was it 2019 that JMO went 5,000 yards?
That was I think it might have been somewhere around there. But then it was also what 30 and 30.
Yeah.
The true 30 for 30
right.
episode that needs to come out.
I remember playing him that year. Like you'd start off and you'd be at negative 4 points because you threw two picks. You're like, I'm not worried. It'd end the day with 400 yards and 4 touchdowns or something. Yeah. Still 4 picks, but you know.
Yeah, negated just one of the touchdowns. What you did, unless you give in, unless it's one of those leagues. We don't acknowledge Rams this morning. Drew. Sorry, we've already poo-pooed on the Rams and Texans because Colby and Susie are there. But no, Stafford is another one too, and it's pretty incredible that these guys, the true pocket passers, have stuck around this long. But going back, before we do that, defense question, Jorge. Nothing like making a decision as a wholesale. The New England Patriots or the Cardinals. The Cardinals were my pre-draft strategy of I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to take a defense. I'm just going to, I'll fill it in because no one's going to take Arizona.
Right.
And against New Orleans, I don't know. Jorge, what do you think?
So I have the Patriots as my DST number 9 heading into this week, just because I love the addition of Robert Spillane, linebacker from the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a new coaching regime. We got Mike Vrabel there, who, this is not the Belichick, era. This is not the Gerard Mayo era where, quality linebackers go to die for fantasy. No, this is a different situation. Mike Vrabel has his track record in Tennessee as the head coach and helping calling plays on defense. I love the addition of Harold Landry, which is where this is going to come to help you, Poke Varsity, is the fact that he should be getting a lot of sacks here. This offensive line for the Las Vegas Raiders is what I like to call shaky. So Harold Landry is somebody who he missed, I want to say it was like the 2022 season. And ever since that season, everybody's just kind of like, oh, well, because he missed that one season, 4 years ago, whatever, or 3 years ago, it's like, yeah, but he's come back and he's played well. Last year, he had a great year reuniting with Mike Vrabel in New England. The sacks, I think, are going to pile up here for him today. So, yeah, give me the Pats defense over the Cards defense, which, yes, they did revamp a little bit. They got Josh Sweat. They still have Budda Baker. They have insert name at linebacker. So it's one of those things where it's like I'm trusting Vrabel and what he's been known to do on the defensive side of the ball. So I'd say roll with the Pats defense this week.
I feel bad for Gerard Mayo, man. He got the poo end of the stick. Let's be honest. Well, his number one receiver was Kevin Booty.
Booty. Is it Booty or Booty? I forgot.
We don't acknowledge. We don't try to clear up.
He's Booty anyway. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. Love it.
Nice. He's Booty. He's Booty. But I'm just saying, 1 year. Has there been any other one and dones? To your knowledge, coach wise?
I mean, this is throwing it back, but Marty Schottenheimer was a one and done in Washington, but that's 2001. So, yeah, I'm sure there's been others, but I digress. So this is for you, Nate. Mr. Scamper says, "Whose house?"
No answer on that.
Rams house. That's
no. Yeah, it's not the Rams house. It's the Chargers house that they're renting, and they're going to take over. Their squatters' rights it and just take a. Except for here's a fun fact for you guys. I learned this when we were doing our tour of SoFi. How much do the Chargers pay in lease for the stadium to play there?
$2 million?
Okay. Erika?
No idea.
No idea. Perfect. Jorge?
I'll go $5 million.
$1.
What?
$1. Yep. They have that, at least that's what it was 2 years ago or last year, whenever we went. Yeah, last year. Yeah, they pay $1. And I believe that's because they have it built in that Kroenke gets X, Y, and Z percentage of the profit from ticket sales or whatever else it is. But yeah, that's unless the person who's doing the tour wanted to make Mr. Kroenke seem so generous and humble that he was only accepting the $1. All right.
Pretty good for California rents, guys. I'm telling you that.
Not bad. $1. I would pay it. All right. Erika, I'm going to let you have Darnell Mooney. Questionable, of course, and obviously I think he's leaning towards playing. We'll have more breaking news as the show continues on. Or Josh Downs in a full point PPR.
I mean, we've already talked about Atlanta and how we don't really want any other part of that offense. And especially with Mooney being hurt, he's a game time decision at this point. I actually took him out of one of my lineups today just to be on the safe side. So, and we've talked about how much we like Downs. So I'm going Downs.
I feel the same. Is anybody leaning towards Mooney?
Nope. Not here. Dave?
Downtown. Let's do it. It's
right.
I don't trust Mooney.
So I don't know whether J.K. Kelly too is
totally drop AJ Brown.
Is in cahoots with Aiden Weingartner with the awesome questions here. And I'm gonna treat it as respectful as I can. Do I drop AJ Brown for Jahan Dotson?
Absolutely.
If I'm in your league, yes,
Please.
you do. Please. If I'm not in your league, no, don't. No,
I love the week one overreactions. Like, you've got people talking about Amari and Hampton being a bust. I'm like, just chill, guys. It's a long season. The appetizers have barely been served. We're still eating bread right now. Like, just chill.
Mm-hmm. But and that's a perfect segue to this, back to the segment though, because that's the one thing that while overreactions and underreactions are key for week one, some of the things of note are good reactions, even if they're not necessarily overreactions, but paying attention to certain things. Like we talked about Cleveland enough with Quinshon Judkins being signed, but I want to know what Dylan Sampson's running back share is going to look like. I'm intrigued to see just how that's broken down and what that can mean. We might not get a lot of resolution in week one, but I think it'll give us a little bit of an indicator to say, hey, they trust exclusively Jerome Ford to get just the season started. Let's go with something that's a familiarity within the system. But Erika, Dylan Sampson, let's say Judkins, when he does come back, is that really going to have more of an impact on Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson, both, neither? Those are the questions that I think that many of us are having right now that maybe we don't have an answer for. I was wondering if you do, though.
I don't, but I'm ready to see what Judkins can do. Right now, I'm rolling with Sampson over Ford. I know they gave Ford that contract and everything, re-signed him, but with him being hurt all week, all through training camp, I have to play Sampson in one of my leagues, so I'm rolling with that today. But I am excited to see what Judkins can do in this offense.
Yeah, I am too, and it's one of the things I like about this particular segment is that we don't have to be right. We definitely know we can't be right. No one can predict the future. I don't think so, but I think that it gives a little bit of foresight, and we can use hindsight and look at David Njoku, and we can look at what he did last year. And honestly, in those games against the Bengals, it was incredible. If I'm not mistaken, let me double check, but I think he averaged 9 grabs, 71 yards, and he was the tight end 1 and then the tight end 5 in those 2 weeks. Me personally, I have no problem starting David Njoku as a flex play. And I think that starting 2 tight ends, a tight end in your flex is kind of the what are you doing? You don't know ball type thing. But I think it's contrary, Dave. I think that's the opposite. I think there can be real true benefit in that. Would you agree or disagree?
I think the game has shifted in the last 5 years or so, where tight ends are really wide receivers who occasionally block. The tight end of old, like back in Ditka's day, there was barely any catches, right? Tight ends were there, as the name, to line up tight at the end and just block. They were there to pretty much help the running backs. I mean, Travis Kelce kind of changed the game, to be honest. Gronk's a bit of a mix, but nowadays most tight ends, they're receivers. They line up, in the slot, they line up out wide. I mean, yeah. So I've got no problem with with playing a tight end in the flex. Absolutely.
And Mr. Scamper says it took him way too long to come up with Urban Meyer's name as a one and done, and it was a perfect one and done. And
Dude,
sorry, Scampers.
I totally forgot about Urban Meyer's.
Yep. Well, one person I definitely didn't forget about is, hey, Nate. Oh, he can't hear because he didn't have headphones on. So, buddy.
He's wearing his football outfit here. Sundays are football with football and daddy. I love this. Great job, Melissa. This outfit.
Very good.
He wanted to come by and say hello to everybody in week one. So this is Nathaniel.
He's got a solid head of hair on him.
I was gonna say, I think he has more hair than I do.
I
have
a bottle of hair gel over here that I do want to do a mohawk with him before he gets his first haircut. So
I like it like that. Keep it, yeah.
He was born with a lot of hair, so it's yes, that's right. I'm talking about you. That's right.
Yes, he was, and he has a birthday coming up. He'll be one here at the end of this month, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. Everybody, let me take you up for a second here.
And just remember, if we have any bad takes that cost you a game, if you talk trash on us, it is directly reflected on that young precious child, and he does not want your slander. So keep that as well. I will use every resource to my advantage to prevent any hate, and
love it.
That's all love there. I don't know if I love this question. Don't know if I hate it either. But old Scampers wants to know, Luke Musgrave or Emmanuel Wilson? That's when Scott Fishbowl leagues are really kicking off, is when you get the Luke Musgrave or Emmanuel Wilson questions. Does anybody want to take a shot at this?
Musgrave question this early in the morning.
That's not what you were doing the 45
hard
minutes.
Man, it's not even like Tucker Kraft where it'd be like, okay, this is more of a slam dunk here, but like Luke Musgrave.
Yep.
The tight end premium makes me want to take Musgrave. Given the fact that we, Reed questionable, does he play? Maybe not. Dontavian Wicks questionable, does he play? Maybe not. Well, they're going to need people outside of Matthew Golden and Romeo Doubs, right? And I'm assuming they're going to account for Tucker Kraft as well. So, a body that gets premium points at this point, I would go Luke Musgrave.
Yeah, I don't know if that name actually answers the question of I just need a body, if that's even a body.
Well, it should. Well, here we are. Scott Fishbowl questions week one. I just need a body. Who do we go with?
Yep. So. Nope. And we will see that. All right. If you need a body in your lineup, Jorge, and we talked about this before, the Jerry Jeudy Cedric Tillman conversation.
Yeah.
I was segueing into that, and then I realized I think I've asked the same exact question 2 or 3 times now. So let's get past that, and let's go to the Miami Indianapolis game, which I know before I went to get my coffee, I alluded to not wanting to hear Erika's take on Ollie Gordon and what he could potentially mean for this offense, because I really want Devon Achane to be the de facto number one and have no worry about touches. But I didn't get to hear your answer. And on, besides redundancy,
we didn't talk about it. So, yeah.
Well, perfect. Then I'm glad you guys, thanks for listening to me. I'm glad I passed off the hosting duties to you, Jorge, and dropped the ball considerably. But for people that were waiting on bated breath for that Ollie Gordon discussion, I think that's one thing that we're going to focus on this week. A lot of people will be in Miami, and maybe it's smoke, maybe it's fire, maybe it's I don't know, want to call it, delusional to think that it could be a 50-50 split, because I don't think it will be, other than easing Devon Achane back from injury or reducing injury. But we want to see his usage, And Erika, is it fair to say that the range is going to be between, kind of nothing
0 and
or
all.
yeah? I mean, what do you expect? Let's put it this way: if he gets 30% of the touches, do you think that's going to be the norm going forward, barring injury to HN, or do you think it's going to be a week one anomaly to reduce the injury concerns for HN?
I mean, even last year, the Dolphins rolled out multiple running backs per game. It wasn't just HN, 24/7. He was the workhorse, but they were also, sprinkling in the backups all season. And everyone probably knows my love for Ollie Gordon. I think he fell way too far in the drafts. The Dolphins got a value drafting him, 6th, 7th round.
Yeah.
Like, he's a big back. He is a between the tackles, like run up the middle kind of guy. I think he's not going to usurp, HN, of course, this season, but I think he's solidly going to be their backup, and he will be sprinkled in.
No, I'm right there with you. I mean, obviously not having Jalen Wright is really helpful in that, but I too was shocked that he fell as far as he did. Coming off of, a dichotomy of college seasons from 2023, where he was the, de facto number one running back going into a potential draft if he were to win and go into the draft, or at least top 3 or 4, to being an afterthought, going to an offense that really, I'm not going to say that they're thunder and lightning. I'm not going to do these, but it is a good compliment to the type of role that Devon Achane can have. And if something happens with Tyreek Hill, where it's disgruntled and he's off the team, if they're, he's had injuries over the last couple of years, granted they've been weird injuries to like the wrist, etc., but there's a role for both of them. I don't want it to happen because, of course, I have a lot of Achane, and he was, he was my preseason, like the guy who can finish number 1 overall that isn't like pushed up that high quite yet. But
sorry to interrupt. So you mentioned you mentioned thunder and lightning, and I kind of want to throw this trivia question out there in the chat. There was a team for the New York Giants, or there was the New York Giants, and they had a pair of running backs that they also called Thunder and Lightning.
They did.
One was Tiki Barber,
who the other one to Southern Illinois University.
No, actually, he did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he did not. I will put it in the private chat of who I'm
Nate
talking
looks
about.
Angry.
Yeah,
I am angry.
He's googling.
You are. Yeah,
no,
looking those keys hard.
No, hands up.
Who was the Thunder? Who was the Thunder in the Thunder and Lightning pair for the New York Giants? It was Tiki Barber and who? So let's see if people here can put that together. Anyhow, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Ollie Gordon, man, I don't know. I got to be honest. I think he's getting more overhyped than Dubai chocolate. What's up with that, by the way? It's just pistachios with chocolate. But anyway, look, here's the thing. If anyone remembers back in 2016, Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis back with the Titans, all right?
Oh, okay.
Derrick Henry was a borderline bust. The only time he did good was when they got rid of Dion Lewis and they gave him workhorse duties. A good running back needs the usage. Worst thing for a running back, other than a few exceptions like Kamara and Ingram, Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman, there's a few exceptions, right? Obviously now Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, but generally speaking, you want a workhorse who's getting 20-plus carries. I think they're going to do that with Achane, whatever. I think they're going to give him the work. They're going to make sure that they're using him through the middle of the field. He's catching balls out of the backfield. I'm not saying Ollie Gordon's not talented, but I don't know if he's getting that many looks.
It's all about the Devon Achane usage. If they do, I could see a scenario where they have both backs on the field and Achane being more in motion. We saw that a lot last year. The success was really derived from having the receivers and even the running backs in motion to try to get some one-on-one looks. And Achane could very easily be split out and have Ollie Gordon as a power option more so. And Jorge, going back to the Thunder and Lightning, I will say I was going a few years ahead of that when it was Earth, Wind, and Fire, which is what they kept calling them Thunder and Lightning, and they always had to correct them and say, no, that was Tiki Barber and the person you're talking about. I was referring to the Brandon Jacobs era of the Giants when it was him and
I thought it was Ahmed Bradshaw.
Ahmad Bradshaw was the other component with Brandon Jacobs. But if no one wants to guess it, I'll let Jorge, you reveal who it is. I think he had 2,000 yards rushing his senior season of college, if I'm not mistaken.
If you want me to give it away, it was Ron Dane from the University of Wisconsin.
There you go. So, I mean, I was still right because Brandon Jacobs went to SIU.
I mean,
but, whatever.
Okay.
I didn't have the answer
We're
wrong.
age, guys. We're getting old.
We got some breaking news here. Looks like, according to reports, Christian McCaffrey will play today. "Quote unquote," he's good to go.
Deep breath, exhalation for everybody until the first snap, and then the second.
I would say, didn't they say that last year where he started the game and then played a couple snaps and then was done?
Yeah, it's.
Like,
I mean, but
don't speak that bad juju into the air. I've got him in too many leagues. All right,
Take
it back. Take it back. Take it back.
I didn't draft him anywhere, so I'm good.
I wish that I no, I'm glad I do have them. That's one thing, when you have so many leagues, it's nice to have a couple pieces of some players that are as polarizing or boom or bust, if you want to call it that. It's fun.
So, we had Drew TMR in the chat. So Drew Scott, you can find him with Nate and Rhett Manuel and Kyle Ziegler on 4th and Frames on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. What I like from Drew's take when it comes to draft season is, like, you can't, and as much as it's difficult to with some players, you can't go into a season anticipating injury. You know what I mean? And if you were somebody who drafted Christian McCaffrey in the first round, like, that's your guy. Like, that's your RB1. That's your, the person that you're holding as your most valuable player. If you're already thinking about, oh man, like, I'm drafting Christian McCaffrey, but I'm anticipating him being, injured for a couple of games this year, then why are you drafting him in the first round? Like, if there are more solid people there. So if you drafted him in the first round, where I'm going with this is, have some confidence that he's going to tear it up and he's going to give you everything that you want. And then again, it's very easy to have recency bias and be like, oh, well, he, all the years in Carolina, all the games he missed there. Then he comes to San Francisco and he's like a workhorse, but then he starts getting hurt last year. And then, oh, he has a calf injury this week. Like, let's calm the fires just a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's been the likelihood that we've seen the calf injuries manifest into Achilles or just long-term lingering issues has definitely brought up. Now, to add on to that point, if you take McCaffrey in the first round, the one thing you can do though is reduce your injury risk, I guess, which you can't completely, but you can take less risky players. Contrary to what I did, I had the opportunity to take McCaffrey at like the 8th pick in a league, and I followed it up in the second round with Devon Achane. Now that is either stupid, probably stupid, or it could be extremely beneficial. Obviously, I was banking on the risk / reward of it all. But yeah, and Ken, you should hang your head in shame. You should have known that. You could have won the prize.
He texted me as we're waiting for the answer, and he's like, "No, Jorge, you're wrong." And I'm like, "No, Ken, you're wrong." And he's like, I am wrong. You are right. I'm like, that is the most humble concession I've ever gotten out of Ken Sonnenberg in my entire life. I was going to say,
who'd he pay to text that you were right? Exactly. His phone just phone autocorrects back to I'm right. It just doesn't allow you to say it.
Exactly. I'm waiting for text like that from my wife. I've never seen it. I'm wrong. You're right.
Exactly. Nope. It does not. So
one thing I was going to say, just to piggyback off Jorge quickly, like fantasy football is a game of trial and error, guys. You're not going to cook a perfect steak on the first time you ever cook it, right? Don't get cute week one. I mean, there's a lot of people going, oh, I should have played Javonte Williams, should have played Hollywood Brown. You just don't know, all right? Play your guys week one. you reassess at the end. If you take an L, so be it. Don't get cute. I'd rather take an L playing my studs, the guys that I know, and go, all right, I can fix it from here, than trying to get fancy week one. It's not worth the risk. Week one is your baseline. It's your safe play. Just play your guys and then reassess Monday night.
That's a great point. It is definitely the one thing that I find myself talking to when friends that are new to the game or newer bring up that same point. Oh man, I should have started that. It's the box score, dread when you're looking back. Oh, I could have, should have, would have. And it's like, in what situation, even if you knew the outcome that X, Y, and Z player who's ranked 50th outscores your number 3 wide receiver, you should, even if you knew the outcome, you probably shouldn't have done it. It's just bad process. And Jorge said it for 8 years that I've known him, or 7 or 6 or however it's long now. But, process is always supersedes like outcome, because it will help build that.
No, you're right. And it's one of those things where it's like, you could have the right process and everything is going your way, and a running back who should be low efficient in a game is his efficiency is low, everything makes sense, or a wide receiver's efficiency is low that you predicted, and then it takes like one home run ball to completely screw that up. And it's like, well, you take that away, then so I mean, some things you can't predict, obviously, but for the most part, we go off of empirical evidence and track record and what have you. So yeah, I mean, you got to trust your process, folks. At the end of the day, we can only give you our recommendations based on our research, but we all have to take accountability in how we're setting our lineups, and that's what we're here for. We're here to help you all get the most informed as you can be. And for everybody who's been watching all morning, really, really appreciate it. We really appreciate the support kicking off week 1 here of the 2025 fantasy football season. So yeah, if you're there, wherever you're watching, follow, subscribe, like Fantasy and Frames. Don't forget to head over to fantasyandframes.com weekly to check out our waivers, our starts and sits, or plays and fades, rather, our IDP waivers or IDP plays and fades, as well as our rankings that are updated weekly. So thank you very much to you all for your support, but we're not done yet.
I did want to piggyback off of that, because there's one player that had a great week that we haven't talked about.
What's that? Who's that?
Quentin Johnston.
Oh my God.
Ooh,
right.
It's a good call.
So what do we think about him moving forward?
I like Justin Herbert more because now he's got 2 great slot receivers in Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey, and he's got Quentin Johnson. So I think Herbert takes a bump up. Am I trusting Quentin Johnson? I don't know. I don't think so. He's got a bit more to prove for me to put him in a lineup.
Well, yeah, and I think people can put Trey Harris back in the cookie jar just for a bit. Everybody was anticipating him coming out of college as being somebody who could step up in a starting role, but Quentin Johnson the other day just completely threw that wrench into the equation there.
He played well though.
He did. He played great. I mean,
yeah,
that's probably the best performance he's had over in his entire career against the tough Kansas City Chiefs defense. So that was definitely. I'll tell you what. What really threw me through a loop watching the game on Friday was just how much Justin Herbert was rushing the ball. Like, I don't know whether that was by design or that was just like oh shit, I gotta get going, or I gotta, So it's
mm-hmm.
that.
The game, no, his run that sealed the game.
Oh yeah.
If you saw at the end, the Chris Jones, Drew Tranquil argument, which is, and they did a great job of explaining it, that, Chris Jones had outside containment and he came inside and that opened it up. But it is nice to see that when given that open field, Herbert, if he can get 250, 300 yards rushing on the season, and I don't think that's a high floor to set. To be honest, I don't know what his average.
Was he at 50 yards already? He's got to be over 50. What he hit the other day? Herbert yesterday. Yeah.
I think that's pretty fair. I mean, him and Mahomes combined for over 100 yards rushing, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a great floor to have, to be able to add to an already, decent ceiling for Herbert. And Erika, what you're saying, Quentin Johnson, on a week-to-week basis, there will be some downs. And that's the problem with QJ, is that he was one drop pass away from having 2 touchdowns. And I think that he's those, excuse me, he's one of those receivers that I'm glad I don't have him.
He had
because
to,
he'll
didn't he?
have,
Didn't he have 2 touchdowns? He got 2 touchdowns, didn't
He
he?
got 2, yeah.
well,
Yeah,
oh,
he was-
sorry, he could have had 3 because he
3.
dropped.
I got you. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. That might have been the same drive. Sorry, forget that. You think I was actually watching the game intently, but usually I close my eyes when they when a touchdown scored against the Chiefs.
Well,
but he'll have the weeks where he scores big, and then you expect the most the next week. And I think it'll be those, mountains, peaks and valleys, and it's frustrating. Jorge?
With that being said, Erika, going back to, you brought up Quentin Johnston. Is he somebody that maybe you are thinking about for waivers, putting in a claim for him this week? Or what are your thoughts on him and his value or priority, where he should be on the priority checklist for people doing waivers this week?
I mean, I think he's definitely up there. I ended up getting him like super late in drafts. I was all in on him in best ball just because of his opportunity. I was really excited to see how much usage he had. And he had like his last games a year ago. He was being used a lot more on the field. His problem is Butterfingers. So, he just has so many drops. But yeah, I think one of the priority waivers will be Johnson this week.
Nice.
He should get some looks, man. Like I don't know if people remember back when Juju, his rookie year with Antonio Brown. I mean, he came in, and there was also Martavis Bryant. Those 3 feasted. All 3 of those guys feasted. So there is the opportunity that Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and QJ all do well. So I'm with you. So I think the biggest beneficiary is Justin Herbert. It's the one thing. Like, if you have a good run game, it helps your pass game. A lot of people think, oh, the running back on this team's terrible, so I'm going to pick this guy because they have to throw the ball. That's not a good strategy, because defenses know that and they'll account for it, right? What you want is a good team where there's a good running back, so that you're constantly, quarterback is constantly being has the opportunity to either do a read play, right? Read option. That's, and we saw that with Justin Herbert, right? But nevertheless, I think with a good running back and 3 good receivers now, we're going to see the ball getting aired out in Los Angeles a lot more.
Yeah. Let's go to the game where, unless you had one final thing to add, Jorge.
Well, I was just briefly touching on the Dolphins and the Colts right here. And I kind of want to go around the frames and just ask people, their opinions here. Who are you more concerned of? Jerry Jeudy having a down year again this year, or Tyreek Hill having a down year? Because last year we saw both of them have down years, more so Tyreek Hill than Jerry Jeudy in terms of expectation. And obviously those 2 wide receivers, their success is predicated on Tua being able to play a full season. That being the case, like, Erika, would you be more bummed out if you're the manager, if Tyreek Hill was to have a down year, or would you be more bummed out if Jalen Waddle had a down year?
Oh, you mean Waddle?
Sorry, I said I'm sorry, my bad. Yeah, Waddle.
I mean, you drafted Tyreek higher in most leagues. He was still falling all throughout the season, draft season. He kept falling and falling. So some people were getting him, later than expected, just because, again, you don't want to base your season off of injury, but Tyreek does have some injury concerns. I'd be more disappointed if Tyreek had a down year. Waddle, he could have a bounce back year. Again, it's all based on Tua.
I was wondering how Jerry Jeudy was being impacted by Tua.
Yeah, no, that's my bad. Yeah.
Damn,
See,
is there like ESP or something? Do they eat off each other's vibes?
Yeah. So that's a cue for me to go get some more coffee. So I'll be right back. Sorry.
Put some of that Jameson in there, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I actually am pretty, I think I'm higher on Jalen Waddle than most. And I think that's also probably predicated on the fact that I have my doubts about Tyreek Hill staying mentally focused, physically capable. I think there's a lot of negatives. That being said, the involvement, and you don't have to have 100% invested in the Jalen Waddle to get return, which is always a plus.
Tyreek's still one of the best receivers in the NFL, man. He's getting a lot of hate, and I don't know why. He's one of the most versatile, quickest receivers in the NFL. Yeah, I don't know why people are so down on him.
He's a bum. That's
So,
why. Just kidding.
If he was on the Chiefs, you wouldn't be saying that.
I know.
Let me interject here. We got our guest here who you'll be seeing here weekly here at Fantasy and Frames from the deepshot.com. You all know him. It's Mr. Andy Behrens. Andy, welcome to the show.
Friends, thank you.
Hi.
It's good to be here. Can't believe you actually met my appearance fee. That's incredible, but happy you did. Deep pockets over at Fantasy and Friends.
Yes.
Well, with Nate potentially screwing that up yesterday with all his quote tweets back and forth with you, I was a little nervous, but it went well.
No, it was a pleasure dealing with the Fantasy and Frames legal team. We've been in discussions for months.
Nice. Love it.
We did have to sell off the jet to make room
One
for
of the
Andy.
Jets.
One of the Jets. Yeah.
Not even one of the Jets, the submersible.
That's true.
Well, we're very happy and honored that you're joining us here. And we're going through our fantasy focus segment, just going game by game, just talking about just what are our perspectives from, certain players that, have intriguing matchups this week. Nate, you want to carry on here with Jacksonville and Carolina?
Yeah, you came in on that good spot. Andy, we talked earlier. We were discussing that there's an upside for the Carolina-Jacksonville game to be one of the most exciting, like from a fantasy perspective, for us fantasy hopefuls that want to see just all the names that we've been talking about and seeing the production. Some of the things I want to pay attention to, maybe you will as well, is the Travis Hunter offense and defensive side, the snap breakdown. I think they've alluded now that he's going to play more offense or less defense than some people expected. What's the ceiling if he actually does only play a backup cornerback role?
Can I just say, first of all, that this is, to me, this is far and away the most interesting game for fantasy purposes. I can't wait to watch it. Part of me wants to kind of sort of have all the games on in this window, but really I just want to focus on this one because the big open burning questions that we have, this game is going to answer a lot of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hunter is a huge question. I personally felt like Hunter was the best receiving prospect in the draft class. Now,
right.
We also have the number 2, in my view, receiving prospect in the draft class also in this game. So that's super fun. But I don't think there was another kid in the 2025 class who just had the, both on offense and defense, honestly, the attack the ball skills that Travis Hunter does. I think this is really fun. And the idea that he might be 80-90% of the snaps and play primarily from the slot in this offense is just incredibly fun. I realistically, if the secondary continues to be a problem for Jacksonville, the first time a cornerback gets roasted for a deep touchdown, I don't know, are there not going to be calls to play the team's best corner at cornerback? Maybe
No.
there will. I think that's just going to be a fascinating ongoing story. But the ceiling is very high for Hunter. Week 1 immediately. I mean, we never really know what defenses are going to look like and which ones are going to be good and which ones are going to be improved entering a new season. But man, if Carolina can just get to league average as a defense, I think the coaching staff would accept that. And there's a pretty good chance that this is going to continue to be one of the worst defenses in the league. So the ceiling for Hunter right off the bat is really high. I'll tell you one of the other things that I'm fascinated by in this game. Liam Cohen has made some noises about allowing Trevor Lawrence to run the ball, certainly more than he ever has in his Jacksonville career. And people might have forgotten, he was a great runner at the college level. That was a huge part of what he did. Some of the signature moments of that Clemson era were Trevor Lawrence running the football. And if they can unlock that, I don't think there are 8 better rushing quarterbacks in the league right now than Trevor Lawrence, and I would absolutely love to see it.
Yeah,
So
I think
folks,
go ahead. Sorry.
So we have a little bit of breaking news. So hold on one second.
By the way, Andy, heads up.
Yeah. Sorry. I hope your volume was turned down slightly. So Commanders running back Chris Rodriguez is a healthy and active today. And then for the Bucks and the Falcons, Godwin out. We kind of obviously knew that, as well as Darnell Mooney not playing today.
Oh, okay. That answers some of the questions we were thinking. So the Ray McLeod hype train, Jorge, that you were discussing earlier.
I'm saying they got to get the ball out quick. I'm just saying that's just saying.
All right. No, we're going to get a reaction, true reaction. Kyle Pitts is in your lineup, Andy. Are you happy or sad?
It's purely theoretical. Kyle Pitts is not in any of my lineups. I'd be sad. I'd be sad because I don't know how I could have wound up in that exact situation. It didn't happen. I don't know. I'm in, I don't know how many best ball leagues and redraft leagues. 60. He's not in any of those lineups.
The words Kyle Pitts and happy, it's an oxymoron. It's never going to happen.
I know. Well, hey, you never know. Some of us, Erika and I, might be hoping for a Kyle Pitts breakout, because then when he does, and the trade value is actually greater than -7, see, boom. But going back to Jacksonville real quick, I think that many, people watching potentially aren't in the deepest of leagues where you have super flex and multiple. And Trevor Lawrence could have been a guy that could be sitting on your waivers. Most likely not, because someone's going to reach and take the second. But if in that situation, everything that Andy's alluded to says Trevor Lawrence could very easily be a guy that you could pick up and have that could finish as a top 8, we'll say, quarterback on the season, especially with the rushing upside. Erika, any other things in this specific game? I guess the one area I want to pay attention to a little bit is the running back splits in Jacksonville. Is Travis Etienne in this Cohen system where they like to run a lot of screens and get the ball in his hands, or is this going to be Tank Bigsby? Is Tootin going to come in and poo-poo on the show a little bit? What's your breakdown for this running back room?
I'm excited to see how this one plays out. A lot of people have been very high on Tank Bigsby. He was used last year as well, a little bit, but it was mainly the ETN show. So I expect more of that. And, Trevor Lawrence, he likes to run the ball as well. And with them wanting to run more, we could see less usage from those backs as well.
Yeah, I think that's one where, I don't know, what's your rostership of ETN, Andy? Did you sneak him in many of your best balls late?
I have him. I have a lot of Bigsby, and I'm just partial to him. Really like the player. Was very impressed by him last season. So I have more Bigsby than I do ETN. But they also complement each other really well, like almost ridiculously well, to the point that we know that when they start throwing, it's not going to be Tank Bigsby on the field. And we know that that's a really good fit for ETN's game. So if this game gets shootouty or they're trailing at any point, it's an ETN game, and you have to do that little guessing game pretty much all season long as to how you think game flow is going to go for the Jaguars. Tootin, I don't even know if it's long term, maybe it's near term, could be an answer for that, because I think Tootin can do a little bit of everything. I don't know that we're going to see it anytime soon, but it would be nice. I assume that Liam Cohen feels this way. It would be nice to have a running back on the field where it's not like a little bit of a tell as to what you're going to do. And, maybe they get more out of Bigsby as a receiver, but last year it just reached the point where, I know what's coming if that guy's on the field. So your actual question was about my exposure to ETN, which is pretty modest. And when I took him, I feel like I only took him because he was slipping a round or two beyond ADP.
And that's fair. And if we want to pivot from that situation to another one where I think many people are going to kind of had to make that decision of how high they want to invest, is in New England, where the Raiders and the Patriots, the Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson scenario is Travion Henderson. And Dave, I'll start with you and get your take on Travion. Are you expecting, this is week 1, so we're trying to forecast down the road, is it exclusive third down passing scenarios, maybe 2-minute usage, or do you think that they're going to, from the get-go, Vrabel's going to say, hey, we're going to have you more involved and rotate different series? What's more likely?
don't forget that Stevenson is a north-south runner. He's churning the ball. I understand Henderson is great. He's a great talent. He's got a lot of attention, but New England is a running team. They want to give Stevenson at least 15-plus carries. So I'm not saying Henderson's not going to be involved, but don't discount Stevenson, man. He's going to be used on the goal line. He can catch the ball. I mean, I don't know how many catches he got last year, but they used him on third downs a lot as well last year. So I'm just saying I don't think he's going to be. People are making out like he's disappeared into nothingness, right? He's still there. He's still technically the one. Henderson's going to be there, but maybe it's a 1-2 punch. I don't know. The
Antonio Gibson disrespect by not even including him into this running backs.
It hurts. It hurts.
Well, that adds fuel to the fire, right? Maybe it's a 3-headed horse. I don't know.
No, don't say it. I can't go through another season of disappointment with the Antonio Gibson hate. And if Drew's in the comments or watching, he and I both, we spent more time. This is probably a good indicator of how some of our seasons went, is that we were collectively jumping around, or maybe a round and a half in ADP just to get Gibson, because we were always drafting near each other, which needless to say, I think we know the outcome of that. It was not great for those specific leagues. Well, it was great for the ones I didn't get him, where he jumped ahead. But Andy, as far as the backfield, I know it's something that when ADP set, when your draft's going in, you have to assume that if you're taking him as high as he was, you're not exclusively shooting for just the big play 3 times a game. I think you have to assume some usage.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get the image of a 3-headed horse out of my head. That's I think there's a real chance. And listen, I have a bunch of Henderson became the sort of player that I never got when I was in a league with a bunch of fantasy analysts. And I almost always got him when I was in like a hometown league, or, a league with normal human beings who don't do this for a living. I would virtually always get him like round 5. I felt great about him in round 5. I didn't mind getting him in round 4. He's one of the most explosive players that I saw at the college level last year, and certainly that we saw in the preseason. I get it. I do also think there's a real possibility that New England could simply look at what Ohio State did with him last year, when they never gave him more than 12 carries in any game. And he rarely got more than like 15 touches in a game. And they could reasonably say that is the highest and best use of TreVeyon Henderson. That keeps him healthy. That keeps him on the field. We know that there's a little bit of durability worry there. And we can't wish Ramondre away. Like he is part of that team. This feels so much to me like, a handful of years ago when we had like rookie Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon in Denver, and like the entire fantasy community would just tweet #free Javonte every time Melvin touched the ball, even though Melvin was having a really good season. It feels like we might be going down that road in New England, right? Where everybody is going to want Henderson to get all of the work. And maybe Henderson is just never going to be the type of player who should get all of the work. Like, I don't know, Ohio State, again, came around to the idea, and it worked fantastically, that he should be a part-time back.
Yeah, it's tricky when the analyst leagues like you're talking about, where he's being drafted as your potentially, your 2, most likely a flex spot.
At the end, you had to get him in the 3rd round. Like by the end of draft season, if you weren't taking him in the 3rd round, you weren't getting him.
Yeah, it really was like, again, that's why I like some of the home leagues, because no offense to my home league friends that are maybe watching, probably not, because they don't care, but it was the value I liked a lot better as someone I didn't have to start, kind of like the Caleb Johnson scenario that I'm in many leagues, unfortunately. But we don't need to talk about Pittsburgh yet, which I guess we could. I mean, is there a scenario there, Erika, in Pittsburgh? Like the one thing that I'm going to pay attention to, of course, is, I want to see Justin Fields and what he's going to do, as far as, is he going to catapult the QB rankings that I had him so high in based off of his legs. But it's the receiver spot that I think we're expecting in Pittsburgh to be, this Aaron Rodgers. Of course, everybody's high on Aaron Rodgers, correct? Collective show of hands, I'm guessing. Yeah, Dave, just you?
No, I was fixing my hat.
Nope, hand went up. Sorry. That's the accidental bid in the auction league that you didn't want to touch anything. I was like, damn it, I hated it. My head would itch, and I'm like, shit. I was like, God. Oh, we're at $24. I don't want to go anymore. And luckily, but I don't know where I was going exactly, Erica, other than with the Pittsburgh offense outside of DK, who gets Sauce Gardner. Are we going to get a sign of anybody this week that might be the number 2 option in Pittsburgh, or is it even worth rostering going forward?
I mean, it's probably worth rostering going forward. I say we wait a week, but I'm more excited for this running back game for Pittsburgh. I'm super excited to see how they use Caleb Johnson, behind Warren. Of course, Warren has, the blocking abilities. So I think he's going to be used as their primary back, especially in passing situations. But I am excited to see, what this running game looks like for Pittsburgh, especially with, Aaron Rodgers there now, who, can't really throw anymore.
Did you see him running the drills where he was kind of galloping like a 3-headed horse around the backfield and throwing it? Well, the weirdest scenario I've ever seen. I was like, I don't even know what are they practicing for? But regardless, I don't know, Andy or Jorge or Dave, if there's anything else like from a metric standpoint in this game that you're looking at that's going to create any type of buying opportunity or forecasting that you want to touch on. Andy, I'll start with you.
I feel like the Jets backfield is pretty interesting because we've heard a lot of noise about Braylon. Like, I thought Braylon Allen was fine last year. I thought he was a little bit better than some of the surface level efficiency numbers would have indicated. But I also don't think he's in Breece Hall's class as a runner. So I'm a little bit surprised at some of the helium that Allen has had. But again, it might be real. And if he has a goal line role, that's really important. And if that thing ends up like a 50-40-10 split involving Davis as well, it's a little bit of a nightmare. I think Hall's a wonderful player, and that's the guy I bet on. There's also kind of an open question as to exactly how much Justin Fields will throw to because big part of Breece Hall's projected value, of course, is the idea that he's going to catch a bunch of passes. But as we often see with run first or run heavy quarterbacks. Why am I going to dump it off to a running back when I could just go get those yards, right? Like that's a real worry.
No, and that's definitely fair. Jorge, anything to add to that particular matchup, or you want to move to?
Just narrative speaking, one person that I was really looking forward to seeing him take the next step this offseason was second-year wide receiver Roman Wilson. But per ourlads.com, it's Calvin Austin who's going to be starting opposite DK Metcalf, and that's gross.
Yeah.
Then you look at that's the expert analytical way of saying a situation. It's gross.
Yes.
But then you look at the tight end situation, Freiermuth, you have Jonnu, again, gross situation altogether. I'm actually, if there's somebody outside, and again, I'm not excited about DK just because he's lining up against Sauce Gardner, but to Erica's point, Jaylen Warren, just because we know of his, one thing, Erica, you brought up was the pass blocking, which obviously helps keep you on the field. Second is his, efficiency metrics when he had the ball last year, especially against really tough defenses, defensive fronts. We saw him be extremely efficient. So if there was somebody for Pittsburgh I'd be excited about, it would be Jaylen Warren. But as far as adding anything else that's not gross, no, I don't have anything there, Nate.
Let's go to something particularly gross in terms of what I think that if we're looking for the week 2 waiver wire articles, granted in most leagues he would have been drafted, and that's going to the Washington Commanders New York Giants game. Of course, Chris Rodriguez, Jorge, you touched on, is going to be inactive, meaning the path is clear for Bill to be the guy in Washington, of course, that I think everybody's waiting for. But personally, Austin Eckler seems to be the name that I think we're all overlooking. We have all draft season as being the biggest beneficiary of an open backfield. But Andy, in your waiver wire article for week 2 here at Fantasy and Frames that you don't know you're doing, but we got you just tied up right now, part of the contract you signed. Will the headline picture be Bill Krosky Merritt?
Yeah, I think he's probably rostered in too many leagues to actually headline the waiver wire feature, right? I don't, just personally, I never like to lead with people who are, 60% rostered, 65% rostered, but it is one of the huge open questions, because I can definitely imagine a scenario where Washington simply says, we signed Austin Eckler to do exactly what he was doing last year, and I'm not going to ask any more of him, right? And then Bill slots into everything that Brian Robinson was getting, plus maybe what McNichols, Rodriguez, and all that other rogues gallery of backs was also getting. That would be really exciting. We are definitely going to need him to have either the goal line role or a receiving role, because it's just really, really hard to maintain fantasy value without one of those things. I feel more comfortable that Austin Eckler has at least one of those things. But I agree with you that Eckler has a fair amount of appeal, because it could be last year's role plus, right? It could be last year's role plus additional touches sort of between the 20s. He could just be a straight, we could get whole series that go to Austin Eckler, and he could, I don't know that Austin Eckler at this point in his career is certainly not the same guy that he was like 5 years ago. I don't know that he's looking to have, the kind of massive workload that we associated with him in the Chargers days. In fact, I know that when he was like co-hosting a podcast on Yahoo, he talked specifically about how, man, something's wrong with this offense if we're throwing it to me 70 times or whatever. Like he wasn't necessarily looking for that. I don't know that he's looking for that now, but I can imagine a scenario where he gets like 60% of the snaps this week.
Yeah. Where he was going in draft rooms was, he was borderline free until the news got out that, hey, we're dropping the ball on the Austin Eckler potential here. Dave, you were saying
the who's going to be the running back in Washington? It's like a gender reveal party. Like, is it a boy or is it a girl? Like, no one knows. Is it Rodriguez? Is it Bill? Like, I don't know. Personally, I kind of want to stay away from it. As much as I love Austin Eckler, obviously he was a stud for many years, and Bill looks great. I just don't know if I want to risk it with someone who might get less than 10 touches. Doesn't matter which running back you pick. Keep in mind, you got Jaden Daniels, who loves to run the ball. Right. He's and he's fantastic at it. So, those options where he might be able to dump it off, Jaden's typically running them. So I don't know if we're going to get as many checkdowns to any running back. It's just one of those situations. As of week 1, I want to stay clear of it. But it's going to be one to watch for anyway. Week 2. Who's going to be the number one guy there?
Yeah, the whole, I guess, takeaway from this particular backfield going forward for people like everybody that has already drafted their team is, what value do I have? And I don't think that anybody, if you collectively see Bill as the guy, if we watch week 1, that he's going to have trade value, because anybody that drafted him with the expectation that he's the guy. And I don't think that there's, and if you have him and he does well, it's not a selling point. So it's kind of hard. I touch on this. And then, of course, these are supposed to be factors that are going to help you going forward into the season. And I think the next matchup, if we look at Tennessee and Denver, this is going to play true where, and maybe I'm wrong, Andy, but in Denver, I see the escalation for Bo Nix. And I think that there's a path to someone outside of Cortland Sutton being fantasy valuable, and maybe multiple players. So the question then I would have is, regardless of what we see in this week, Marvin Mims, does Pat Bryant come in? What are you hoping to see result from this matchup against Tennessee?
Well, I took a lot of Marvin Mims, particularly like early in best ball season, and I was going to call him an interesting player, but really he's kind of a fake receiver, right? Like he doesn't do all the usual receiver things between the line of scrimmage and like deep downfield. That's basically all he did. He was catching passes either behind the line of scrimmage or 25 yards downfield, and he didn't do anything in between, like literally anything in between. So he's weird, but it worked. And also some of the signature plays of Denver's season last year in a really successful year involved Marvin Mims. So I think in his weird way that not a lot of other receivers could replicate, on 35 to 40% of the snaps, Marvin Mims can be really interesting. Again, it's not like Marvin Mims is going to function as a traditional receiver, but we got a lot of options here. And, Evan Ingram is almost more receiver than tight end at this stage at any stage of his career, honestly. So he's going to be involved too. I don't know how much of a role is Harvey going to have as a receiver in this one. It is interesting. I think Pat Bryant is more of a later in the season guy than he is right now. But it is so natural to imagine him on the field along with Sutton and Mims, in part again because Mims is he's just such a weirdo.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly right.
Getting J.K. Dobbins is there.
No,
I mean, there's so much attention being given to Harvey that look at what J.K. did last year in L.A. He was fantastic, and the run game in L.A. struggled when those 3 or 4 weeks when he was not there. So I don't know, man. I mean, I still think J.K. is the number one over there. I think he's going to get most of the work, but I feel like there's been so much Harvey hype that people have forgotten. The ugly duckling in the room being J.K. Dobbins.
Well, yeah, I guess I was actually skipping ahead to the idea that Harvey was going to have to get his value as a receiver, because I agree with you. I think J.K. Dobbins is the lead back, maybe not the featured workhorse back, but certainly the lead back.
And let's not forget Sean Payton's track record with having 2 running backs being very fantasy viable with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. So, I mean, obviously probably not to start the season, but this could be a situation worth monitoring as the season progresses. But I think you guys are right with J.K. Dobbins here.
Yeah, I think Denver's a really fun team. Granted, tough conference, not great for my team and all, but they've added pieces. They have multiple things that we can pay attention to. It's the early on guys that I want to see that maybe by weeks 3-4 you can find yourself scooping up before, like Elik Manor. That's a name that is very intriguing. I think is it Elik or is it Elik?
I think it's Elik Manor.
Manor. Yeah. I don't know. Erika, you being our resident Tennessee, I'm kidding. Nobody's a Tennessee fan. I just had to pick someone.
I mean, I think Calvin Ridley's being overlooked a lot too. I mean, yes, you have a rookie QB, but he is going to be their lead receiver. And so Manor, I mean, I liked him, coming out of college, later round pick. So I guess we'll see, week 1, kind of where Cam Ward wants to get his targets to.
I will say this matchup, I'm kind of tempering expectations for Titans players as a whole, because I am very high on the Denver Broncos. They're my DST1 heading into this week. I love the additions they made. Extending Nick Bonito just recently to that $120 million deal, who, as soon as Josh Sweat was traded to the Arizona Cardinals, he just went off. Yeah, on the flip side, Jonathan Cooper, he's the great 1B or 2 to Nick Bonito's 1. But then you look the player that I'm most excited about is Jahdae Barron, the slot quarterback, who's basically plays a whole number of roles in that secondary. I think he's going to really help out, especially in run support. Basically, he's like Devin Weatherspoon, but his name is Jahdae Barron. So I'm definitely excited for what he can do there for the Denver secondary. The linebacking situation, kind of, Dre Greenlaw, ever since that tragic tearing of the Achilles at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, he just hasn't been able to really stay on the field too long. But Alex Singleton's coming back from the ACL, and trust in Alex Singleton when it comes to tackle volume. So I think just from the front defensive line all the way back to the secondary, Denver is a very scary team.
To Jorge's point, I know I said earlier that we never really know what these defenses are going to be coming into a season, but I would be shocked if Denver isn't great. I would be pretty surprised if Pittsburgh isn't pretty great too. But there's not a lot of others that I feel like rock solid about. And I was just as Jorge was going through the roster, I was thinking to myself, man, if Cam Ward can just have a game with like 185 passing yards and 1 touchdown and 1 interception, that's probably a pretty good outcome for Cam Ward, and we should feel better about it.
Yeah, preseason when I had both Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley as guys that I 100% am targeting across at their ADP. It was with the caveat that in week 1, I do not want to start both of them. I may start Calvin Ridley just because I wouldn't have had many other options that I felt as comfortable about. Tony Pollard, I feel like where I was getting him, I had other running back spots to at least fill in. But yeah, that's a really tricky matchup. But going forward, that's maybe a buying opportunity. If people are that hyper reactive to week 1 numbers, if you see Calvin Ridley locked up or you see Tony Pollard not breaking free and getting huge production going forward, I do believe there's positive upside for both of those two players. San Francisco, Seattle. We can kind of skip through since it is the 11 o'clock hour, 12 o'clock or 9 o'clock for some people, whatever time it is, wherever you're living right now. We'll go through. Is there any specific game, not to just kind of throw everybody out to pick and choose, but any one scenario, or Andy, that you will want to highlight before you have to get going?
In the Niners Seahawks game in particular,
honestly,
Any
considering
game.
we're kind of in any game, since we're running close to the end, I don't want to pigeonhole you into that game.
I'll give you one. I don't know if you guys have already talked about Monday night, but
we have.
I think one of the most slept on things. There's such a disconnect. This is such a fringe thing that I'm about to talk about, but there is such a disconnect between expectations in the fantasy community for what Luther Burden's going to be and what has actually happened on the ground in Chicago during training camp and preseason, where they love Zacchaeus. They love Olamide Zacchaeus, and he has locked down the job that the fantasy community has penciled Luther Burden into. And it's, man, every time I'm in an industry draft and Luther Burden gets picked, there's a bunch of people who are like, oh, great pick, love it. He might not play at all. They love Zacchaeus, and Zacchaeus was like a highlight machine in the preseason. Absolutely every beat reporter has written him up. He's been one of those guys who just gets talked about daily, or was talked about daily in training camp. And I am very anxious to see what that split looks like. Like I'm partial to Luther Burden. I was excited about the pick. I think he's going to be great long term. The coaching staff loves Zacchaeus, and it is entirely possible that Burden barely sees the field. I think it's a really interesting thing not that anybody was rolling him out in lineups, but I think there's a real chance that it's going to be a whole lot of cold water on Luther Burden, and he gets dropped in a million leagues heading into week 2.
Interesting. And I know maybe, you don't hyper focus on dynasty leagues, but do you think that is a sell high for Burden, or is it too early that maybe come next year at the same time, Zacchaeus's value could have subsided? Or
no, I mean, I'd still buy Luther Burden. I think he's a huge talent. I think he's going to be a big part of what they do. And I don't need to tell people what the history of slot receivers tied to Ben Johnson is, right? Like, I think it's all going to be fine. I don't think he has an obvious role early in the season, given how glowingly they have talked about Zacchaeus and how well he is. I mean, that guy had a long touchdown in the Bills preseason game. He had a big field flipping play in the Chiefs game. Like he's unfortunately, he's played very well. I think he has the job that everybody wants Burden to have. And so there's probably a little bit of a buying opportunity, because again, I'm a believer in Burden. I'm not down on him. I just think that playing time situation is going to get really messy.
Zacchaeus feels like the most unsexy name this week.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I think it's exciting that for the DFS community out there right now, that they're going to be, I would say, thousands of dollars spent now on Zacchaeus entering their Monday night lineup. But honestly, I probably will go have a lineup, because I have to imagine he's super cheap. Can't imagine he's really expensive. And all you need is, at his price, probably, 1 or 2 big plays and you're paid off. Doesn't have to be, necessarily 50-yard touchdowns, but just involvement in that offense. Minnesota's tough. We know that. Minnesota's defense is not a sieve for fantasy points, but I'm excited. I will say the NFL did a great job of setting up good matchups. Maybe it was foresight. Maybe it was luck that they get Carolina and Jacksonville. Maybe it was, definitely Baltimore, Buffalo Sunday night, and then Minnesota, Chicago. They did a really good job. Erika, is there any other matchup this week that there's one area that you're going to pay attention to that's going to get you ahead of everybody else?
I mean, I'm excited for this Houston game, kind of see where these wide receivers end up being. Kirk being out, it's going to be, Higgins or Knoll.
Mm-hmm.
They both have been on the field a lot. I'm just ready to get some kind of, insight as to where the ball's going.
Man, I really hope Knoll's the right answer there. I thought that kid was so fun. And I'm an Iowa guy. I should not be, excited about Iowa State players, but I thought that kid was so fun in college. And I love everything about the way he competed too. Like that guy, I'll go to the Senior Bowl. Yeah, I'll play the bowl game. Yeah, I'll do he did all the things and he didn't need to do any of them. And I find him really easy to root for.
Mm-hmm.
And it fits perfect for the Christian Kirk role much more. I mean, Jaden Higgins could see an increased amount of volume, but Jalen Noel and then that one thing I've kind of looked at, or at least, but it's too late and you already have Nico. Nothing's going to change in his value other than his positions. And I would love to see him, he's the true X, the only one of the few in the league that can actually dominate from that position exclusively. But if he actually does get moved around to the slot, in some capacity, like they said, maybe they were not joking, but coach speak, whatever it was. I think the sky's the limit for Nico and company with that. But Jorge, I'll jump to you to see if you want to round us out with any one specific points of target.
So last year, LaFleur said, thinking about a wide receiver one in this Packers offense, wanted to make him vomit. Well, let's see if Matthew Golden changes his mind this week versus this, which I think will be a very downfield focused passing attack of the Detroit Lions here. I think Golden has the opportunity for Green Bay to, snatch that role of wide receiver one. Although that being the case, with Reed potentially out, with Dontavian Wicks potentially out, Tucker Kraft is another option I think we should be paying attention to at the tight end position. But Romeo Doubs, I feel like he's going to end up being this season one of the most slept on sleeper wide receivers that people are going to be like, ooh, I need to either put in a claim or I'm really glad I drafted him as my wide receiver 6 or 7, depending on how deep your roster runs. But yeah, Matthew Golden, man, my eyes are going to be fixated on that matchup.
Yeah, likewise. And so I think, Andy, unless you have any other things that you would like to point out, we got about 50 minutes until kickoff, so I know everybody wants to get their lineup set and go make all the moves they can. But if you want to round us out with anything, feel free to do so. If not, just make sure everybody knows where they can find you. I'm sure it's anywhere and everywhere because you're a sought after commodity.
No, I just want to say I know I was joking about an appearance fee when I jumped on here. I'm doing this because I love you guys, and it's just at this point in my football career, media career, I just want to collaborate with people that I like, and you guys are fantastic. So this was really fun, and I look forward to continuing to do this. People want to find me. All the writing is over at The Deep Shot. It's me. It's Dalton Del Don. I'm collaborating this year as well with Chris Harris. We're doing a podcast together. This is all like a big combo platter, $5 a month. You get all of it. But again, I'm gonna be here all season. Love talking to you guys.
Oh, thanks, man. That really means a lot.
Hey, you choked up?
A little bit. Well, I need some more coffee. That was beautiful. Andy. What can I say?
No, I every time I'm talking to you guys, it was, I don't know, it feels like being around the fire at the DoubleTree in Canton, Ohio, and that's just nothing but a good time.
I promise to break out the overalls though at some point, not in front of a fire. Again. That was
the million degrees. I was like, what are you thinking of? What a terrible spot to ever. That was bad. But Erika, I know you're going to be with us every Sunday morning, hopefully at least as many as possible. But there's plenty of other places people can find you as well.
Yeah. So every Monday night we are doing a waiver wire watch party during the Monday night game. So that's with me, Stacy, Colby Conway and Kevin Tompkins. We're going to be hitting the waivers and doing a little watch party here on Fantasy and Frames. So join us for that.
That's awesome. That is what I mean. That sounds like sitting around a DoubleTree fire as well with that cast of crew. That's awesome. Which, Dave, you need to join us back again in Canton for the next time. Hopefully, you.
Yeah,
can...
it's been a minute since I've been to Canton, guys. Hey, I miss it. It looked like a fun time. Saw the photos.
Mediocre. It was okay. I mean, mediocre for everybody else because Carrie wasn't there this year, so I had to listen to that every day. In fact, actually, I'm drinking out of my mug in case you guys were going to give me some shit that says Mrs. Marcum, because clearly I think that's we have his and hers coffee. She doesn't drink coffee, so I get both. But Dave, hopefully,
I'm sorry, Carrie doesn't drink coffee. That's just all natural. The Carrie,
yeah, exactly. I know.
That's crazy.
Exactly. Every time she's wanted to try coffee, I've made it the most disgusting thing ever, so she doesn't like it. Like all caffeine. I'm like, no, this is what it always tastes like, and it's mostly strategy.
Love it.
So, well, guys, gals, that wraps up the first of who knows how many 4 hour long, 3 hour long, just. I guess parties we want to call it, get-togethers, hangouts, whatever. Look at it. The fact that we have 160 plus in here on week 1, and honestly, just not bombarded with 1,000 start-sit questions, either is encouraging because you want to stick around and actually listen to us talk football and just hang out, which is really actually probably the biggest plus. Or you didn't know how to actually put your comments into the questions, and then we'll just we'll have a little tutorial on Monday night with Erika and company of how to get your start sit questions in, or you've listened to everybody else's content and you know the answer without asking us idiots here. So
either way, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. So for Andy, Erika, Dave, Jorge, I'm Nate. Good luck with all your games this week.